Hello,
Oh,
everybody. This is Rick. How do you pronounce it? Kaulbars.
yes. I use a mnemonic memory trick to help people remember how to pronounce.
Okay,
So
tell us.
the trick is, and my wife hates it, so you might hear her groaning and complaining in the back. But geez, I wonder where Rick is. We'd better call bars. See, and then see, and there's her moaning. But
Okay.
yeah, as in, let's call bars. I bet he's in some of those or something. So it's not true as I age. It's not as true anymore. So,
Okay. Okay.
also the price of the economy. My God, you know, 20, 2 beers now cost $25 in a bar here.
It
Uh,
does.
yeah,
And you
Percy
you live.
Spencer would have a scheme or something to get rid of that.
Oh shit! I see. Okay. And you live in Ottawa.
Hmm.
Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Pretty close. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Of course,
Okay.
it's derived from a native indigenous word here, but Ottawa, yes, live from
Ottawa.
Ottawa, Canada, Canada's greatest national capital.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. Oh, you have you really have a speaker voice.
Yeah, I'm a graduate, proud graduate of our local community college's broadcasting program, and now I teach
Okay.
there. So,
Oh, I see. Well, I can hear that.
all right. Well, if you ever need anybody to do some radio for you, stacks and stacks of hot wax in your drive time traffic, just call Rick Kaulbars for all your AM hits. I never got a job in radio. I almost got a job as a strip club disc jockey, but and this is a true story. So much of my life is in Kevin Spencer, but
Okay. Yeah.
I graduated from college. Like many young students, you go on the rejection letter roundup, sending out, please hire me for something.
Mhm.
And finally, one of the other graduates goes, "Hey, man, I could get you a job at the strip club. They need a DJ, and you've got a great voice." And oh wow, so excited, big bright eyed 23-year-old. Trained for 3 days. My mother, of course. My girlfriend, of course. And I was like, "Look, I'll balance it all. It'll be fine. It'll be." But I didn't work out, and it didn't work
Okay.
out because these were the days of vinyl records, and I kept putting them
Hmm.
on at the wrong speed. And we might be dismissive of strippers, but this is their art. This is what they do, and they care very much about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you put it on at the wrong speed enough, uh, uh, not to put too fine a point on it, but when an angry stripper looks at you, it could take the paint off. I mean, it's
I
just,
see. Yeah.
is
I
he
can
gonna
just
be?
imagine.
Is he working here? Is he gonna be working here? It's like, okay, I could see the writing on the wall, and they eventually sat me down. Sorry, man, you're just not good enough to be a strip club disc jockey. So I was like, oh no, no, no. Which, of course, my mom and girlfriend, yay, they were quite pleased. So
But
what?
this was, yeah, this was some time ago. How would you feel about entering that business now?
Well, I don't know, honey. Well, can I be a strip club DJ now? Anyway, she's not happy about it. But now that I'm a role model to my children,
Oh,
that yeah, no, fortunately I'm employed enough in less nude ways that I think I might stay out of the biz personally. I
okay.
don't I can't even remember the last time I ever went into one. It must have been like in the 90s or something. But
Okay.
if yeah, just regular beers are like $7. I can't imagine what they must cost in an actual strip club where the prices are even more artificially inflated. So
Oh, and it's a 7 Canadian dollars.
in Canadian dollars, which is about 550 American, I guess.
Okay. 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 I see. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, the American dollar is always a little bit more than us, worth a little bit more than ours. So.
All right. Right. Yeah. I see. I see. So Rick, I figured the agenda for this interview is that I would first like to talk about my own role in the Kevin Spencer community. And then I would like to hear a bit about what you're up to now.
Certainly.
And
before you even get to that,
yeah,
Ludwig, can I just interrupt you for a sec?
yeah.
For a young gentleman in Finland, you have such a
No, it's
wonderful English voice. Your
oh,
language command of English is quite impressive. And
oh, thank you, thank you. I'm
good.
very happy to hear that. However,
Oh,
it's not Finland; it's Sweden. But
Sweden,
close
why?
enough.
Oh my God, I apologize. Okay, well, even so, Sweden. Oh
Man,
boy,
I knew you lived in Ottawa.
bleep that part out. That's awkward.
No worries at all. I
How long
love
have
Finland, so
you
I'm
lived
just proud.
on? Anyway. So, please continue what you were saying. Your personal journey with the
Yeah.
Kevin Spencer.
And after I've asked, we discussed what you're doing now. I would like to hear a bit about the show and the creative process behind Kevin Spencer, and also a little bit about what was going on at Ocnus Productions back in the days.
And I can even, well, I can't speak to that too much, but I'll get into why of that a little later on. But
Yeah.
I can certainly tell you, especially, you talk about the band episode, which is hard to find.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I likewise, I'm always on a hunt for it and keeping my eyes peeled.
Oh,
I
okay.
think last time I saw it, it was on a VHS somewhere, falling slowly apart. But I can tell you the true story that it's based on and what the ramifications were after it was banned.
Okay.
Good times.
Good.
So, but anyways, take it away. You had your sort of
Yeah.
prologue.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like later on, I also wanted to talk about a little bit about lost media, whatever lost media there is
Mm-hmm.
around Kevin Spencer. I would also like to ask a little bit about the finale or the last season,
Yeah.
which also leads into the episode Air Show, I think it's called, where you're the co-star pretty much.
I asked Greg. You have to understand one of the reasons I asked about which episodes we'd be talking about.
Yeah.
As Greg and I worked kind of in isolation
Oh,
from
I see.
each other even. So my episodes are all my episodes, and all his episodes are all written by him episodes. And so, I'm hesitant to speak in any kind of authoritative way about what his motivations
Yeah.
were or whatever. And so you might find me doing this once in a while, sort of, I didn't write that one. I don't know what you're talking about, but okay.
Okay. That's
But
understandable.
oh no, it was a one of the like it's one of the salad days. It was such a wonderful experience.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, Air Show was the result of we knew it was our final season,
Yeah.
and we'd all gotten the heads up, and I just asked Greg, this is probably going to be the greatest writing job of my life. Would you be offended if I did that meta thing and wrote myself a
Yeah.
role into the second last episode so that I could sort of say goodbye, because I loved working on it. I had so much happiness with it. And so much of my own life was reflected as stories in the show that, and he in typical Greg understated, there was no big pronouncement. So yeah, sure. Oh, okay. Like there was no big fact, I mean, obviously there were and there was pay, but it wasn't a big thing about, oh, of course, Rick, or anything. No, yeah, sure, yeah, fine, okay. So off we went.
Okay.
And that's getting me in there. So,
well, it's totally cool. It's a very good episode. Like it's one of my personal favorites from the show. I love like the meta perspective of it all. How you're present. You're right there in this chaos.
I thought the only way I could sort of sneak it in and get away with it would be to sort of create a tie-in where all of Kevin Spencer was stolen by me hanging out with people like them. In a way, that's kind of true, give or take 10 or 20 years. But
Okay.
Yeah, it seemed a viable wrinkle.
Right. Yeah. So I would just like to begin by talking about my own role in the Kevin Spencer community, and it's also a bit of a confession, and I'm going to get to that later. So, so the thing is, I ever since I was a young child, I'm not going to go that far back really, but ever since I was a young child, I loved South Park very much.
Oh yes.
When I was around like 7 or 8 years old, like that's all I fixated about was South Park. Like I loved it so much, but my parents didn't allow me to watch it. Sort of, I could like watch it from time to time. Probably a pretty bad idea for them.
But Can't stop them. Kids want what they want,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course. And this was also like, when was this? Like 2003 or something? It was pretty early internet, kind of. So, my parents didn't really understand, like the internet and what was on there and what I could find by, having full freedom to explore. So around the time where I wasn't allowed to watch South Park, I did a lot of Googling. So I was like Googling all stuff, like related to South Park, trying to, find every nook and cranny of the show that I could find without actually watching it. And I remember that, like the reason I discovered Kevin Spencer, you might be curious how a young guy in Sweden knows about Kevin Spencer. And so
Yes, and I still get checks from Spain. For some reason, Kevin Spencer was huge in Spain,
yeah,
and it's all their dubbed versions. So I
yeah,
mean, I've stopped being amazed by how a show can find its way around the world. But
yeah.
continue. Yeah, no.
And then I remember, like, I I was allowed to buy South Park merchandise, and I had like a Cartman plushie that I carried around everywhere. So I went to Amazon.com and I just browsed through every single South Park article that I had. And for some reason, the DVD Straightening Things Out.
Yeah,
Uh,
I have two of those.
oh yeah, yeah, I have one. I tried searching for it today. I think it might be in Stockholm where my parents live. And I'm gonna talk about that DVD later because I have a question. uh, but in any case, like that led me to discover Kevin Spencer, and I started searching for information about Kevin Spencer, like, oh, what kind of show is this? And I remember I found a web page that said, like, oh, Kevin Spencer is South Park, but escalated. It has like more cursing, it has more nudity, more violence. And I was like, whoa, my parents will never allow me to watch this. And so at this age, 2003, I was like 6 or 7 years old back then. Like I didn't watch it, but it always stayed on my mind. Like,
Oh,
holy shit, this show, Kevin Spencer, wow, it's even more brutal than South Park. I can imagine. So I was like going around thinking about what kind of show is this? Oh, wow. Uh, and then, I for a few years onwards, I didn't think about it that much. But then when I was 11 years old, this was in 2008, I I remember I was sick and I was home for a few days. And then I discovered that someone on YouTube had uploaded a few of the episodes. So I watched like the pilot and a few other episodes from season one, and I was like, wow, oh my god, it's like I'm actually watching Kevin Spencer. I can't believe that show I had been thinking about so much for many years. I have to, I have to keep on watching this. And there was this guy on YouTube. I can't really remember the username. It was like Red Star something, and he had uploaded every episode.
oh,
I started watching. Like I think I probably lied to my parents and said like, no, no, I'm sick. I have to stay home an additional day just so I could watch, like binge watch the entire show. And then when I was around season three, the channel disappeared. So
oh,
I had no way to watch the episodes, and I was so frustrated. And here comes a few of my confessions. Now I went to the Pirate Bay, searched
oh,
for
here we.
Spencer.
And
Here we
you're
go.
recording. Oh no, you're recording these confessions.
Oh
Oh
no,
my
I
god,
know, but this was 2008. How long was that? It was like,
statute of limitations or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like.
yeah, 16 years ago. Like this is no, even more, I think. Uh, uh, but anyways, I couldn't find anything. So on some random website, I found a torrent that had every single episode of Kevin Spencer on it, and I downloaded it. So I could just continue watching it, and it was, I loved it so much. I watched it through and through so many times. And then I realized online that people were talking and commenting like, oh, where can I find these episodes? Like, shit, there's no way to watch them. And you know I when I was 11, I didn't think things think things through so clearly. So I
Okay.
started a YouTube channel, and I uploaded every single episode on YouTube. And I'm sorry.
Uh,
I hope that didn't cause you any financial breakage or anything.
I I don't worry about it because I mean there's supposed to be an organization that collects any monetization or anything, and I don't. You didn't monetize it, did you?
No, I didn't monetize. No, never did.
If you did monetize it, they'd come looking for you.
Yeah,
But it's not me.
I know.
I
I
love
think, yeah,
promotion. Get it out there.
yeah.
I'm happy for all the free promo I can get.
And from what I gathered, and I did some research today, the episodes are still up. And I was like, before this interview, I was a little worried, like, oh, what will Rick think about this? That the fact that the episodes are still up. But then, I did some, I wanted to do some research about you before this interview, and
Sure.
I realized that you had linked to the episodes from my channel on your Facebook page. So
Oh,
I
absolutely.
figured, so I figured it's probably all right.
Oh, it's absolutely all right. In
Yeah.
fact, I might do a share screen here for a
Okay.
sec.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Disabled it. Let's see. Am I able to? Oh, okay. So I can't share screen. I can only share screen.
Okay. Is that because you're not the host or something?
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. All I'm saying, it was all just to show you that they're also all available for free on Tubi.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah. I
all
heard
that
about
Tubi, they've been on Amazon, they've been on Apple TV for some reason
that.
even.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're kind of all over the place at this point. So
Hmm.
um, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Okay. Okay. That's good. And also, I think it benefited the show, if I'm honest, because the channel right now has it has a few thousand subscribers, and like I realized just like from back in 2008 when I uploaded these episodes, people were like gathering around, watching these episodes, commenting, and I figured like, hey, I'm kind of gathering the community here.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, no, you really, I mean, I think one of the things that is sort of a curse in Canada is very often we need another country to tell us something is good before we stop hating it. If it's just in Canada, everyone in Canada usually, and then suddenly the Kids in the Hall, which is a comedy troupe here in Canada. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but there was this
What
comedy,
were they called?
the Kids in the Hall.
Kids in the
Uh,
Hall? Nah, I haven't heard it.
the Kids in the Hall. They went to the United States, and suddenly Lorne Michaels, the producer of Saturday Night Live, liked them a lot and offered them money and to produce them. Oh, suddenly the CBC was, oh no, they're so important. Oh, we love you so much. And once somebody else in the world validates something, then suddenly we take notice of our own culture. But until that happens, we usually hate it until it dies.
Okay,
And one of
good.
the reasons I'm happy that you preserve those videos is that uh, uh, like so much of our culture in this country is lost just because we need the, or back in those days we needed the videotapes, like even our illustrious national broadcaster, the CBC, has bulk erased so much of our cultural history with
Yeah.
erasing,
Hmm.
um, just because their news shows or whatever needed the tapes. And so we lose so much of our culture that way. And it's so great that we're in an age where it can be saved like this, or fans can share and celebrate what they like, so it's very heartening.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that, and it's like looking back at it, it's pretty funny. It was like an 11-year-old kid from Sweden who did this back in 2008.
I couldn't be happier to hear that. Makes an old man happy, I tell you.
Oh, happy to hear that, Rick. Well,
Yeah.
and this kind of leads me to why I'm contacting you now, because I felt like kind of like I've been carrying the community under yeah, like I've sort of been since so many Kevin Spencer fans have been subscribing to the channel, I figure like, hey, I want to quench their thirst for, you know, more content or whatever. So firstly, I got my hands on that DVD, like straightening things out, and you know, I extracted the commentaries from there and uploaded it. And there was a music video on there too.
Ah, yes, yeah.
But then I figured like I don't know if there's that much more to find. But the funny thing is, like a month ago, someone contacted me under the name Kevin Spencer Archives,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's a person who has a YouTube channel that, like, if you don't know about it, I'll have to link it to you. It's fantastic. It's someone who has managed to find like all the, you know, original Mondo Media shorts and like promotional commercials and stuff for Kevin Spencer.
Mhm.
And you know, they sent this to me and I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like, how did he find this? I thought I was the one who was like gonna, you know, provide the Kevin Spencer fans with content. So you know, I told this person that like, wow, okay, you're so far ahead of me when it comes to like finding obscure stuff about the show. But I figured, you know, I could contact some of the creators and just, you know, get her some information and have a good talk and
Yeah,
find
for
find
sure.
out a bit more about the show.
Higher tiered content for price, get a Patreon, and then you get
Yeah, exactly.
the Kevin Spencer cast and crew.
Yeah. So I want to give a big shout out to Kevin Spencer Archives, and I'll you know, I'll send it to you, Rick, and I'll link it in the description also.
Know the name of the person associated with it by any chance?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I was just
Oh,
wondering if they maybe they were a former crew member or something.
okay, we're back. Yeah, it's Rick just asked me if it's a beautiful night in Sweden, and it absolutely is. The weather is terrible, but you know, we're used to that.
Oh, you know, I mean, if you love it, you love it, regardless of what it is. You know. Sorry
Yeah,
about my habit, by the way. To anybody watching, please don't smoke. I mean, of all the substances you can abuse yourself with, this one is the least that does the least for you. I mean, you know, the Buddhists believe, you know, the less you need outside of yourself in any way is the way you want to go. But if you're going to abuse substances, at least you want to feel something that you spent money, right? You buy
yeah,
beer.
yeah,
Oh, I have a little buzz. Oh, you buy drugs, which only do it with those when you're very old. But at least you feel it. You feel a buzz.
yeah.
Cigarettes, the only one you feel is that first one in the morning that makes you a bit dizzy and you lean against a door. And then the rest of the day, you're just maintaining so you don't feel miserable from withdrawal. It's the biggest ripoff. Don't fall into the cigarette trap, friends. I think watching too much Kevin Spencer is what did it to me.
Yeah, perhaps. Here in Sweden, we have what's called snus.
Snooze,
It's
I know.
yeah, it's like nicotine pouches that you put under
I
your lip.
I'm very well acquainted with. I'm acquainted with most nicotine delivery methods, Ludwig. This
Okay,
might surprise
okay.
you, but Snooze was looking to expand into Canada.
Oh, okay.
Don't know if they did, but I know I was enlisted to try the product. A
Right.
promotion company hired a bunch of people who were smokers and said, "Would you like to try the snooze? Is it free? Oh yeah, okay, sure. I'll take anything free." And so for a couple of months, I was a free snoozer and enjoyed it. But I guess it never got caught on in Canada enough for them to maybe make it more of a thing. I haven't seen it
Okay.
on the shelves, so
Like here in I live in Uppsala in Sweden, which it's pretty close to Stockholm, and it's one of the biggest and oldest it has like I think the oldest university in Sweden.
oh wow.
And so I go to college and I study psychology. And
Mm.
in college, everyone snoozes
Mm.
like so much. It's I don't know, it's so normalized.
Yeah, I have every confidence. That's well, it's an addiction. Good luck,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I think like most people here are addicted to that, and most people here are addicted to drinking beer also.
I am a beer guy. I uh I know that where am I going with this? Because I want to be careful of what I say. I have friends. I have friends who were die hard rock and roll. I'm gonna party till I die, and they're whiskey drinkers and vodka and all the time and nothing else. And the ones of those who are still alive don't look so good anymore.
Okay, yeah, I
Like
see.
whereas with beer, yeah, I blow it up a bit, but if I bike enough in the summer, I can work most of it off again. So
Okay, yeah, yeah.
and also hard drinkers are more likely to be how can I put it, disputatious, contrary, and want to start fights a lot more, which I don't like. I'm not a fighty
Nah,
guy. I don't have a temper like that. So
neither am I. I can, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I can imagine those kind of people. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Try to avoid them. They're not fun at parties.
Oh,
The person who is nice, the sober person who is a sweetheart, and you go, "Oh, I love that guy," and then he has two whiskeys, and then you say, "Hey, you look good today." What's that supposed to mean?
oh,
It means you look good today. I'm going to be leaving. I'll see you later. Goodbye. I don't need you throwing furniture at me. It's okay.
no.
Mm.
Rick, I just wanted to ask you about for how long can you have this interview with me today? Because I heard you were going out
I'm
late.
happy to go. I'm happy to go. If we could go till about maybe 7:45 at the most, so that's another hour if you like.
Another hour,
Is
yeah.
that
Well,
okay?
that's great.
Oh,
For me,
okay,
the
good.
time's fine because I'm a night owl. I'm
Oh,
very used to going out partying here. There's always something going on here in Uppsala, and I'm pretty used to
okay.
that
You're making me want to
lifestyle.
come over there. I'm coming over there. I've got a live act that I do, eh? So I do live show performances too of comedy and stuff.
Is that Emerson Lake?
You bet it's Emerson Lake. Emerson Lake, erotic poet. And it's not even that dirty a show, but it sounds like it should be. But that's kind of the gag too. Basically, Emerson Lake is much like myself, a man in late middle age, convinced he's still in his mid-20s, and convinced he's a sexual rock star, even though, I mean, the outfit's great. I love the outfit.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've seen it. It's fantastic.
oh, thank you. Yes, he's sort of a Marvel superhero of sex, but it's the joke comes from just how hapless he is at it. He's like always boasting about things, or boasting about Canadian adult films that he starred in, like The Beachcombers, or you'd have to be a Canadian to know the shows that I
Okay,
reference.
yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, if there's always something to do in Uppsala, which I've flown over, by the way, I remember the name because in my Microsoft Flight Simulator, I've been all over Europe.
Okay.
But yeah, no, definitely. If you think there's enough of a crowd, I'll start updating my
Oh yeah,
passport.
dude. I have the contacts, man.
Oh,
I can give you a venue.
oh, sweet. Well, if you think
Just
there's an audience that has enough English in them to put up with a few double entendres, then
oh yeah. People here. Most of us study subjects, and our literature is mostly in English. So
oh, marvelous. Yeah. No, I mean, the Emerson Lake is a bit of poetry, a bit of sort of phony advertisements. So where ladies, example, ladies and gentlemen, this kind of outfit is very expensive, so I have to read ads just like in a podcast. So, um, and then I do an ad called like porn for pets. We let our dogs dress up in people clothes. We feed them people food, and yet we don't let them enjoy pornography. Well, I've produced a series of just for pets pornography, dogs, cats, boa constrictors making sweet love, all to sensitive piano music, and with all under the watchful eye of the SPCA and Humane Society, just like my honeymoon. So like it's that sort of thing, right?
yeah.
And yeah, I do a 40-minute show, and sometimes if I have guests, I bring them out, maybe do a funny song or two, and it gets a lot of work in the burlesque places actually. So,
It sounds marvelous. Like how often do you perform?
well, it has to balance with my teaching. So I've got 2 shows coming before Halloween, and then it gets busy again as we get to Christmas. So usually about 3-4 times a month.
Okay. I see.
Yeah,
It's prolific.
it's beer money.
Oh yeah, it is. So from what I gathered, you're teaching script writing at college.
Yes, Kevin Spencer is a gift that keeps on giving, and one of them is that it's such a noteworthy credit that, as you know, as I matured, it's a competitive game and it's a changing industry, and so I'm still kicking scripts up in the air, but I make my money teaching the next generation how to sign their signature on. I call it signing their signature on the media landscape. Each generation finds their own way to do it, right? So I had my chance, and now I try to help other kids do theirs. So
sounds beautiful. Sounds beautiful.
The circle of life.
And besides teaching script writing and besides the Emerson Lake, what else are you up to now?
Well, now I'm going to comb my hair because I'm worried about people thinking the best of me here.
Oh yeah.
Here, I need hair combing music. You can dub that in later. Yeah. I love that one too.
Spanish Fly.
Little Spanish Fly. Yeah. What am I doing now? Okay, so I'm all over the place. There are a number of things I do because I love Canadian showbiz. I love living in Canada, but you ain't gonna get rich. So that's the downside. You gotta go to Hollywood if you gotta get rich. At the moment, number one, of course, teaching. This is how I make sure my wife knows that I'm not a mooch on the house. There's money coming in the door.
Yep.
Money number two. I'm a tour guide during the summer.
A tour guide.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I love it. This is the job I want to age into because it's also a performing gig. And I take wonderful little old grannies from Brooklyn to Arkansas to all across the world. They load them up on a bus, send them to Ottawa. I get on board the bus in a top hat with some circle glasses and long coat, proper shirt and vest and everything. Mm-hmm. And I show them the capital. And I tickle them and I flirt with the grannies and I make them giggle, and they giggle and laugh. And then at the end of it, they spit money like a slot machine. It's just American dollars falling into my hands. And I'm like, oh, because so much of our monetary lives is plastic now. And then I run home with like American dollars in my hand and shake them at my kids. And I go, look at this American money. Ooh, and then I rub it on my nipples and I get,
I understand why you want to age into this.
Oh yeah. So that's mostly my summer job when teaching. They don't teach in the summer, and in college they don't pay you in the summer. So, and number three, of course, still writing and still kicking projects in the air. So last summer I won the there's a script writing software called Fade In. There's like Final Draft and then Fade In is it's also a magazine about scripts and script writing. And they had a contest. I entered a short film that I'd written into this contest, and boom, won the grand prize. And so they said you win $1,000, and you get to come to Los Angeles to pitch your film or other projects that you have to our Gold Pass producers. The people involved with this contest are like Frank Darabont, who produced Shawshank Redemption and other,
okay, wow,
there's big people involved in this.
Yeah,
and I was so excited, and certainly I was trying to make as much promotional hay as I could out of it. I won the contest, and then guess what happens? The writers' strike. Now, first of all, and I don't want to make anyone upset, but I'm very pro-union. I think I'm in two. So don't get me wrong. I support the writers. Way to go. Good job. Get that honest deal. Even for my future students, my future students, there'll be a better world for them to become writers in because of this strike. Yeah. But that whole trip to Los Angeles, right off the table. It was all shut down.
I see. I'm sorry about
that. I support the union. What? Yeah. I don't get to go to Los Angeles. So so they just kept updating me. It might be March, and it might end up being a virtual visit like Zoom, but still, that gave me enough sort of, how can I put it, motivation, inspiration, that I followed that up by just like a couple of weeks ago finishing my first draft of a horror feature film that I
Okay.
wanted to write. So um and my wife, who, just like George Orwell or Leah Tolstoy, I
Hmm.
exploit my wife like all good writers should. And so, would you proofread? And she signed off and said it officially doesn't suck. So that's great.
Okay.
No, you don't have to be humiliated to put this out in the marketplace. Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you. Um, Always a good partner, and
Hmm.
yet we never give them any credit,
Yeah.
Orwell and Tolstoy, did they write how much their wives worked for them?
Like
No.
I relate to that. Like I always have my fiance proofread my
Oh yeah,
my exams before I send them in and stuff. So
excellent, excellent.
yeah.
No, somebody, when you have like any kind of writer, needs someone they trust enough to push back, because without triggering, hey, I'm an artist, fuck you, all that sort of thing. And so many of them run that risk of losing that as soon as they have their first success. You have your first success, and then everyone who used to say, this sucks, you should fix that part, or this sucks, you should fix that part,
Hmm.
suddenly they all go, oh, maybe he's right, maybe he is the genius, and all this. So suddenly all the people you relied on to provide that pressure, blah, they're gone. And this allows the pot of your ego to boil over. And that's why you so often you'll see some situation where someone had a great breakout movie, but then their follow-ups were kind of, and it's because they don't have the same writing environment they used to have. Now they're surrounded by yes men or whatever else, and it can dysmorph your original writing instrument, if I may get highfalutin and opinionated there. But
I see. I see. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
it was long-winded, but
Experience.
now I'll eat
No,
some
no,
bacon.
it's great. It's great. I'm pretty curious about the startup process of Kevin Spencer. Like, how did it start? Like, from what I gathered, it started with some shorts on Mondo Media, and Mondo Media they were pretty famous for hosting Happy Tree Friends, but I think that
Yeah.
was later.
Mm-hmm.
But tell us, Rick, how did Kevin Spencer start?
Well, I can only speak to my association with it,
Hmm.
and my secondhand knowledge, which may be open to being corrected.
Okay.
Um, if you want the real, full, detailed, boots on the ground story on that, you have to get in touch with Greg Lawrence. Greg was the producer and the first writer. He's the one who hired me.
Hmm.
And like Greg and I, except for one episode written by David Elver, but Greg and I were the only writers for the whole series.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so the story goes, and if you ever get an interview with Greg, this might all get thrown out the window, but the story
Okay.
goes. So the year before Kevin started, Canada had just gotten a whole bunch of new specialty channels to encourage Canadian production. Home and Gardening Channel, Teletoon, I think, and of course the Comedy Network.
Yeah.
And Greg knew me because we did stand-up comedy together in the old days. And Greg was also a producer and a graduate also of the local college. So he put together 3 or 4 or maybe even more pitch documents and pitches for different shows, and made the trip from Ottawa, 3-hour drive to Toronto, and went to the Comedy Network, arranged a meeting, and sat down and started pitching shows. They didn't like it. Pitched another show. They didn't like it. Pitched another show. Nah. And the story goes that he was like out of everything. And they were like, well, you got anything else? And all he had were some shitty doodles that he'd made and that he pulled out. And apparently those shitty doodles got laughs. Apparently the people he was pitching to, no, that's great. Can you make something out of that? So Greg comes back. They do some test episodes. So some of the first episodes I had nothing to do with. I just, those were the ones they sent me and said, "Can you write for us?" But I'll more on that later. So those were
Hmm.
the ones I looked at. But so I had just been laid off. This was like right at the perfect. Sometimes things happen in your life right at the perfect time, and you go, "I don't know what would have happened. I don't want to think about what would have happened if it hadn't happened." But I'd just been laid off from an agency which I'd worked with for a while, just because we'd produced we produced a feature film called Two's a Mob. It was all right, but it didn't turn around the fortunes of the company.
I
And
actually tried to find that short earlier.
well, it's not a short;
Week.
it's actually a feature length
It's
film.
a
Two's a Mob.
feature length. It's feature length.
Yeah.
Maybe I was thinking about Cubed that you also wrote for. Is that embarrassing?
Okay. I don't want to. Yeah.
We don't have to talk about it if you don't want.
It's an awkward one.
Okay.
I won't say much more about it. I just that's one of those ones where the script was changed significantly from what I sent in.
Okay. Okay.
And I sent in a script and then it was changed. And then I asked that my name be removed from it because of the changes. They said, "No, Rick, no, it's going to be great." And and here's where it's kind of interesting and kind of an insight into Canadian culture. They released the film at screenings here in Ottawa where it was produced. And suddenly everyone loved it. And everyone was like, "Oh, Rick, this is great. Oh, wow." And I was like, huh, maybe my concerns were unwarranted. Maybe the changes they made, blah blah blah. And then they sent it to Toronto, and it got torn to pieces. Like they had a video recorded audience Q&A after, and they were standing up. That's ridiculous, oversimplified. And they're saying the audience was saying everything that I had said when they changed it. So but the problem was the director was a friend, and
Okay.
I liked her as a person, and her husband at the time was helping bankroll the film. So that I just made a lot of bad decisions on that tightrope. I walked on that tightrope. I should have demanded my name come off it or something, but word to the wise, friends, once your name is on something, it's out there. It floats around forever.
You can't
Cube,
do the Alan Smithy pseudonym.
yeah,
People
that's it.
do.
Yeah. But I mean, these are lessons and you learn them, and hopefully you can swim above them and keep your career moving as a
Yeah.
result. Luckily, I mean, as far as short films go, you know, the industry in general doesn't put a lot of stock and trade about, whether they're going to hire a writer because he had a weak short film once, so it's not
Mm.
exactly such a blotch, but it did impact the friendships. So,
I see. Okay, so we went on a little bit of a tangent there,
oh
but
yeah, I'm all about the tangents.
yeah, so my I understand that. But how? Where were we?
Well, you were on a trip to try and find other media. Tuza Bob, which was the comedy troupe that I was working with at that time. We produced that feature film. It didn't get the traction we'd hoped for, and they couldn't afford my salary anymore. So I got laid off, and it was, like anybody who's ever been fired or laid off or something, it's a scary time because you go, okay,
Mm.
well, is it the soup kitchen for me? Am I going to learn about Kevin Spencer the hard way? Well, I didn't have Kevin Spencer yet. That was to come. I was so happy.
Yeah.
Somebody, a friend of mine, Bruce Erland, actually, um, producer in town, and I just literally bumped into him at a club, and he said, "Yeah, Greg Lawrence. He was telling me he needs a writer. He needs a Rick Kaulbars type writer." Rick Kaulbars type. What about Rick Kaulbars instead of Rick Kaulbars type? You know, and I shot him an email, and he said, "Yeah, come in for a meeting." And he's a man of he really is a man of few words, but he makes them matter. And
Okay.
yeah, no, we'd love to do a deal if we could offer you this much. And here is a box of at that time I think it was still VHS, but here's a box of videos of what we've done so far, and might have been DVD. They might have burned it to a DVD.
Okay. Okay.
And so the first, I think, six-ish or five episodes, I did write on the first season, but it was like after, I sort of played pickup.
Mm.
Um, and I went home and I watched this thing and I said, Greg's trying to make a Canadian South Park. You know, he's trying to make a Canadian South Park here. Okay. And so I literally, because when I didn't know what the show was going to be, you know, when I'm coming home with a shoebox, like there was no sending the files over high speed internet yet, right? So this was
Yeah.
97 or something. So, and so my whole future was in that little shoebox on the bus,
Okay.
uh, coming home. And for all I knew, it could have been something I could never write for, you know, Johnny Christian and the Love Connection, you know, it could have been something like, I don't know how I'm going to write this, but we'll try.
Well, sorry to go on another tangent, but speaking of the South Park comparisons, I'm right now over the Zoom chat. I'm going to link you an article that was written somewhere around the time when Kevin Spencer started, and the
Okay.
headline is "Step Aside, South Park."
Oh no, I always cringe at stuff like that because it's like, actually, South Park's very good.
Yeah.
Nobody should step aside, but
No,
yeah.
I know.
Oh, I see it. Okay, yeah. Let me just check it out here. I may have
Yeah,
seen this too. Oh wow, yeah. Elliot Belkin Arts Report, etc. Oh, okay, neat. Yeah, 1999, eh? Oh wow, thanks for this. This is going into the old photo archive for sure.
yeah. Also, shout out to Kevin Spencer Archives for providing me with this one.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm glad they're spreading the word and enlarging your resources as well in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, cool. Well, you know, I wish we'd gotten the deal that South Park's got now. I think they got $1 billion deal now. They're
Yeah,
going
they
to be
did
around
with
for a while.
like Paramount, and at the same time they also have a deal with some other broadcasting network, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, if you can get the crew and the money together, I'm happy to reboot this whole damn thing.
Oh yeah, perfect. That was another one of my questions that were coming later. Perfect.
Oh
Now
man.
I can answer.
Oh
So,
no, absolutely. I'd do the show again in a minute. In a
oh,
minute. Happiest thing in my life. Yeah.
perfect. I'm
I'm
happy to
stealing
hear
that.
that.
I'm stealing that article, so I want to make sure I've got
Oh
it
yeah,
transferred.
sure. But like, what was the when you were creating Kevin Spencer? What was like the typical process of
Well, again,
creating
Greg
an
was the
episode?
creator. Greg was the original creator. I want to make sure that's clear because I don't want
Yeah,
him thinking I'm taking credit or anything. But as for process, I mean, there were a number of things. I mean, in the early days, it was very easy because in the early days, I was just drawing from my own life. Um, like, if you, case in point, now we're going to go on a tangent. Like my upbringing was very, not lower class, but it's very working class. You know, my dad worked in a factory. We lived in a neighborhood with, former inmates and stuff. There was a lot of Kevin Spencer inspiration going on. Friends who were either in and out of jail or stealing cars. A lot of my time was either shoplifting or. And here's the part you're never going to believe, and this is kind of strange. Um, from grade 8 until grade 10, which means we're talking about 1970s, early 80s. I had developed a bizarre affinity to the point of I refused ever to take it off, even in class, for a black baseball cap.
okay.
It was my favorite black baseball cap. Never took it off. Teachers got mad at me. I just got known as the black baseball cap guy. Now, I had used up that obsession by grade 9, 10. So this was in my late teens. I'd already stopped doing it and it wasn't a part of my life anymore. But for many years, that was a thing. This had absolutely zero influence on anyone developing Kevin Spencer or Greg when he was writing it. And yet, I ended up writing the guy who is always wearing a black baseball cap on television.
Very funny coincidence.
It's one of those, I'm not a religious person particularly. I don't really get wrapped up in a lot of new agey stuff, but we live in a universe of patterns, and sometimes those
Yeah.
patterns overlap, and you see it and you go, wow, neat.
Time it was about a black baseball cap.
Yeah. So I grew up in that kind of rough neighborhood situation. And when in the early seasons, it was very easy to find something that was in my past or someone I knew uh, who had done something that I could then put into the show. In my neighborhood, there was one of the local drug dealers, the Charlie Plunt kind of guy.
Yeah.
I don't even know if this story even made it into the show, but it's a Kevin Spencer-esque story. But somebody gave him a yacht, like a small yacht, as a settle a drug deal. Like here's a 27-foot boat, and but this guy was not. How can I put it? Yacht club material. So he was in the local yacht club with his yacht, quote unquote. It wasn't, when you think yacht, it's not a Russian super yacht. It was a good sized boat, but all of his Charlie Plunt style biker friends would come over and party. And one day, one of them shot a hole in the bottom of the yacht, and it sank. And he got a $2,000 fine and kicked out of the yacht club, and he had to pay for the removal fee. But I like that sort of story. That was always going into Kevin Spencer.
That's very Kevin Spencer-esque.
Oh, the story that got the one episode banned. Here's something. You know what? I'll give you some resource that I bet the Kevin Spencer Archives doesn't have, and I'll at the very least, find it for you. But
we'd love to have it.
Okay, so now the true story of what was the inspiration for the episode that got banned.
Yeah.
The true story was, in that neighborhood where I grew up, there was an old man, the father of one of my friends. He drove for a tow truck service, and he actually made it in as the character who drives a tow truck in Kevin Spencer. And he was old. Everyone called him Old Ken. And Old Ken, his company had a contract with the police, which meant whenever there was a car accident, they called his company, and that company went over and towed away the cars. So the story of how Old Ken got out of the business, when you are on a tow truck on contract with the police, you see some unpleasant things. I mean, you see the wreckage of car accidents.
Yeah.
Usually the bodies have been removed by the time you get there, but there's still blood everywhere, or maybe. So this, over years, I guess, wore on him, as one might expect, without proper counseling or something. His counseling, of course, like many, was just to self-medicate with alcohol. So one day he got called, and the police had removed everything, they thought, and then the car needed a tow. So he goes up, and the car has rolled over, so it's upside down. And so he has to sort of tow it, lift it first, and then kind of flip it over. And so he hooks the winch up to the front to lift it slowly. So it's starting to go, and from beneath, basically the roof, which was upside down, from beneath, a human head bounced out. Boink, boink, boink.
Whoa.
Now, because the human head had come off, and then the car had landed on top of it, and the cops had been spending the afternoon, we got most of it, but where's the head? Well, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Old Ken retired that day to a life of full-time drinking and dealing with his memories. Now, I said, this is Kevin Spencer all over it. So I of course took the basic story, which is in that episode, like that part. It was bring your kid to work day or whatever. Oh wait, yeah, but since Kevin's dad was so unreliable, he went with the only employed relative he had, the tow truck driver uncle there. And same incident, head bounces out, but nobody notices it except Kevin. So he keeps it and brings it home. It's going to be his now, and sets it up in his room with like a candle on top or something. And Percy, his dad, comes home, and he's furious. Jesus Christ, get that thing out of here. It's starting to smell. It's going to scare the hookers. So, so Kevin is like, well, all right, I got to take it out. Like, he doesn't say anything, of course, but like he takes it and leaves. And so Kevin figured he better maybe just bring it back to the people who owned it. So he does some research, I guess it's implied, and finds out the funeral home where they're burying the remains, and shows up thinking everyone will think he's a big hero because he showed up with a head. So he walks in with the head, causing the expected mayhem, and which freaks Kevin out. So he runs away with the head. And I'm trying to make sure I get this right. The final shot is Kevin's become bored of it and decides to hang it in the yard as a bird feeder. And so the last shot of the episode is the tongue having been pulled out of the mouth, tied around a tree branch, and the head is hanging from the tongue, and a bird is pecking the eye out. And,
okay, I can see why this was banned.
Oh, but it aired. It was.
Oh, it
gold.
aired. It aired once.
It aired once, and for the only time in the CTV network history that I know of, they aired an apology the next week, and they scrolled up the screen. Previously, last week on Kevin Spencer, there was a. We would like to apologize for the.
I want to see that apology so bad.
I guarantee you that was a 100%, except for all the funeral home bird feeder parts. But that was a true story. Like, that was a real thing that happened, wow. And at least I tried to get it out into the common culture. Now, relate. I don't know. Well, maybe I shouldn't presume, because I mean, maybe your Kevin Spencer archive guy does have this, but. In Canada, we have something called the Canadian Broadcast Standards Council, which is where outraged Karens will complain about, they see something. Oh my God. And Kevin Spencer is well represented in their complaints. So if you click this link, you'll be taken, I just sent you the link, you'll be taken to the Broadcast Standards Council Kevin Spencer decision, 1999. Yeah. And the reason it's entertaining reading is watching the people try to rewrite Kevin Spencer to explain what they saw.
I hate to break this to you, Rick, but I've read this several times.
Oh, you already know this.
Thanks to Kevin Spencer archives.
Oh, geez, really? Okay. Well, I thought it was.
But yeah, it's a fantastic read.
It is entertaining reading because looking at it, at parent-teacher night, one of Kevin's parents must show up, or child welfare will put him back in foster care. His mother is too busy having her telephone sex, and dad is watching Cops and America's Most Hunted. It just goes on. And they actually do a pretty good job summarizing so many of the things, and several episodes too. So that was also one of the most flattering things. I'm sorry it's old news to you. I thought I was on to something that maybe was an exclusive, but hey man, you're way ahead of me. What can I say?
Yeah, shout out to Kevin Spencer archives. But speaking of lost media, do you have any idea where you can find the Firestarter episode in English? Because I think there are some circulating copies of it in like Spanish or Catalan.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I think so. But
is that the oh yeah, that is the banned episode, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the episode. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, there's something on YouTube here claims to be it. Oh wait, sorry. I'll mute it. Hang on. I'm starting. I accidentally started it, but
okay.
Firestarter, it says Firestarter banned episode.
What?
And I'm just going through it here. Okay, that's a missing finger. I'm not sure this. Oh, yes, it is. This is it. This is the banned episode.
Is it in English?
No, it says Castellano. You're right.
It's Catalan. Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I've seen it, but yeah, I saw that there was a Catalan version of it.
Yeah. I got my hopes up because it's Kevin Spencer Archive. I got my hopes up because it
Okay,
was
yeah,
the English credits music, but I guess once you get into the dialogue, it's just going to be Spanish.
yeah.
Bummer.
You
Well, you know what? I'll make an extra point of trying to put that on my to-do list to
okay?
find.
We would
Um,
really appreciate it if there's any way to find it.
the episode was confirmed to exist. Yeah, now I'm looking at the Lost Media wiki on it, and
It's a great wiki. And speaking of
oh,
the wiki, there is another lost some other lost media related to Kevin Spencer, and it's a music video that I think aired on Bus TV, Bus Network, with
hmm.
Mr. Mo and someone else.
Mr. Mo and Daryl.
Daryl.
Uh,
Oh yeah, Daryl. I know. I contacted Daryl a while ago. He has not responded to me.
oh no, it's like he's not proud of that or something. Geez, it looks like there's a Ukrainian episode or something. My show's ME of fire. There's Firestarter in every language it seems, except in English.
English. Oh, darn. Uh,
Nah,
but like because I know Mr. Mo and Daryl, they participated in an episode in season 4 called Bus,
yeah.
and I'm pretty sure there was a music video that was released like simultaneously to the episode, but there's like no way to find it. And Daryl's
Uh,
responding to me, and I haven't found any information on how to contact Mr. Mo.
well,
Right.
I'm not connected to them. I'm afraid they're
Yeah.
part of the Toronto entertainment mafia. You'd have to get in touch with Toronto somehow.
Okay.
Here goes my son. Are you heading out? Uh, hey, I'm in an interview. Why don't you say how impressed you are that your dad wrote a cartoon? Thank you. Oh, well, he says it's cool. There we go. I'm validated again. Thank you, son. Enjoy and spread peace. So, anyways, it's so hard balancing the important obligations of fatherhood.
Yeah. I can imagine. I'm not a father myself, but
Well,
I
don't be in a rush.
when that day comes.
I waited till late 30s. I'd suggest that.
Okay.
It's just you've still got enough energy to deal with it. You're not so old that they're going to beat the snot out of you. But if you do it too young, then sometimes you just get bitter at them, I think. And
Okay.
I could have done so much more, but now I got to look after you.
I'm gonna take that advice to heart.
No,
But do you
I
know
mean,
about any other lost media that there might be surrounding?
I honestly don't. I don't. I mean, the band episode is the only one I know of. There's there was another music video from a more well-known band, but I don't even remember the band that was in
Okay.
it. And I didn't write that episode. That was one of Greg's. But anytime there was like a guest of any significant sort, it was usually an episode that Greg wrote, just
Okay.
because he
Okay.
was the producer, and so he was the one who sort of felt he had to make sure that he was shaping whatever. You couldn't just leave that to the hireling. And I say that
Okay.
as a joke because he never treated me bad at all. He was very generous
Okay.
and very good. So,
I made a list of every music artist that participated in Kevin Spencer of any sorts, and I think it's pretty incredible. You got Sum 41
that's it.
in
Yes,
an
it's the Sum
episode.
41 episode. Yeah.
Yeah, which with the treble charger.
Yep. Greg was over in Toronto making connections.
Okay.
Like once a few seasons were under his belt, he was, schmoozing and cruising and making the connections and everything, and
Wow.
certainly getting them into the show. So it had a bit of glitz for its time, for sure.
That's incredible. I mean, Sum 41, they like totally blew up after they appeared in Kevin Spencer, or maybe a little bit before.
I think they were pretty big, but
Yeah.
because I recall I wouldn't have been as impressed at hearing they were in the show if they hadn't blown up already a bit. So they
Okay.
were
Okay.
already pretty big. But yeah, it's certainly an honor. Anyway, certainly an honor to be on a project that they
Yeah.
were appearing in for sure. So yeah.
Did you have any interaction with treble charger or Sum 41?
Well, here's where we get into the interesting parts and what it was like to write for Kevin Spencer, which
Yeah.
beyond being a privilege, but The story, which is kind of legendary, is when I went to meet with Greg, and he gave me my little shoebox of videos.
Hmm.
He said, I mean, we could give you an office here, and you could come in. It was a studio on a street in Ottawa called Queensview, a little studio there, and there were all these media companies working together on stuff. So there was Ockness, Affinity Productions, other companies, and we give you an office, and it it's probably the stupidest thing I've ever said, but it literally was just hard to get to by bus. Like it was just sort of. So I sort of said, it's probably better if I just, write him and send him in. So for those 8 years on the show, I came in once in a while, but I wasn't part of the culture of making the show.
Okay.
I would show up. I knew everyone. Hey, but just to show how hokey I am, I wasn't there often enough to know most of the people by name. So I'd have like, hey, that guy. Hey, good to see you again. Wow, I love that guy. I don't know his name, but I love that guy. He's great. And uh, and that's what I did for about 8 years. And it was weird because I can tell you for sure, especially when it got to around deadline time to get the shows out the door, there were huge pressures on those poor animators and those very gifted talents. I mean, you look at a show with that kind of animation, you go, "Oh, couldn't it be too hard?" No, they actually really tried, and they cared very much about it. And were given nothing deadlines to get to. So I'd show up, and everyone was tense. It's getting closer to deadline, and like any true writer, I convinced myself it was because they all hated me. So you know, oh, no, everyone seems under. Oh, yeah, they probably all fucking hate me. They think I think I'm a snob because I only come in once in a while. Oh, Jesus Christ! Like I'd convinced myself that they weren't thinking of me at all. Like they were glad that I'm sending in scripts because they were, they were having hockey games in the parking lot just to go outside and have daylight for a while because it was like a bunker, and they're all just hot boxing and trying to cope with this thing. So and also at the time, yeah, Greg was exploring other shows. Butch Patterson was his next thing after Kevin Spencer. So he produced his live action, but he let me be a killer in one of those episodes. I murdered somebody.
Shit, I saw the entire show like 12 years ago or something.
Oh yeah,
I have to rewatch it now.
Oh well, I should be credited. I did have a line. I think I got
Okay.
I got killed. I think. Well, either way, one of the two. And so Greg was at this point, and I think I don't think he would get mad at me for saying so. Running himself ragged. He was producing 2 shows, one of which he was the star of, and he was just, I don't know how he kept it together. I mean, this is one of the reasons I can't be a producer, is because keeping the kind of pace that you have to be a producer is, to me, it feels like it would be suicidal. I've worked with producers, and they have to be able to deal. This is a real thing I heard come out of one of the producers I worked for, and another thing, Derek DiOrio, shows up to the office, and he says, "Yeah, $300,000 of our funding just backed out. Well, see you later." And he walked into the office. At the end of that same week, his hair started going gray right around here. And he could play cool all he wanted, but when you got a world that big on your shoulders and all that money, that's where I started to buckle. I'm like, oh man, people depend on me. So Greg was running himself crazy ragged to keep the shows going, to keep everyone employed and all that, and he did a great job, and I hope didn't hurt himself in the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a result, I only have kind of an exterior view looking in on the terrarium of what was the Kevin Spencer production architecture. There was the bunker for the animators, and there was like a room just of all the computers. People probably made love, fist fighted, probably did everything there. There was the producers' offices, there was Greg's office, and they had amazing Christmas parties. I remember my agent dancing on a table She should give me more work anyway. So, and but like anything in television, and this is the sort of melancholy part. If you're going to write for anything, you have to accept that it's going to end at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want a forever job, get in a union and get a government job and work it forever.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could speak French, I would actually, but you have to be bilingual to get a government job in Canada. So, but Greg was great about it in that, he let us know well in advance when it was finally going to wrap up. So like we could put our affairs in order. I didn't make the mistake. I had a friend who used to write for another animated series, and I won't mention the series because I don't want anyone to know who this is I'm talking about.
Okay.
But he wrote for this show for 1 or 2 seasons and made a whole lot of money and spent a whole lot of money because he assumed that it was just going to keep going, right? Which is a mistake, especially in Canadian television.
Yeah.
So we didn't even pay taxes on that money. So when the show ended sooner than he expected, he wasn't in debt, but except he was to the government. He owed the government about $60,000. So yeah. And so, always pay the taxes. They'll come for you so hard. I've seen it, man. People declaring bankruptcy and everything. Give the government their cut always right away. So I learned from my friend's experience. I made sure that everything was going in. The government was getting everything they can get. So,
I mean, like, how many episodes approximately did you write? Or
now I'd have to go to the thing because I don't even know. I've written as many as were on the how many episodes?
Ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's it.
How many episodes did Rick Kaulbars write for Kevin Spencer?
Oh, it even predictive text for me there, Kevin Spencer. Okay. Let's see what happens. He wrote over 40 half hours.
All right.
Okay. That's what it said there, but there might be different.
Okay.
What does IMDb say? Or just checking. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, they don't list all of them, but
yeah.
Oh, and they got the for better or for worse. Oh God. Sorry, I'm noticing other shows that I wrote. But yeah, no, I mean, I was usually guaranteed half of the season, and sometimes Greg didn't write enough. There was one episode, the Dreamland one that they mentioned on the DVD. I literally got a call from I forget the other producer's name, but she was like, Greg forgot to write an episode and he's busy. Can you write? Yeah. And so I wrote Dreamland like under a gun. We need it yesterday. Yeah, I'm on it. I'm not doing anything else. I'm writing it. So
and Dreamland is one of the episodes that got probably the most recognition because it was on the Straightening Things Out DVD.
Oh yeah. I think there's that one. God, I think I have 2 of them on the DVD, didn't I? There's the Dreamland, and what's the other one? I didn't write the Tomb.
So it was Goodwill Spencer.
Yeah, I wrote Goodwill Spencer and and Dreamland.
I have a question about the DVD.
Oh yeah.
So I have a copy of it somewhere, and it's like a kind of funny thing about it. I noticed there's a sticker on the back that says Goodwill Spencer, like covering up the title that was actually printed on the DVD sleeve. And I tried to look what was under it, and I managed to see that it says Goodwill Hunting. Like what happened there?
Somebody in the print must have mixed it up because obviously it was a spoof of Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah, I know.
Goodwill Hunting.
Where Mr. Franklin is like the Robin Williams.
You know what? I mean, Greg probably got somebody in the office to do the graphics,
Yeah,
and I love them all. They're wonderful
yeah,
people.
yeah.
Somebody goofed,
I don't mean to throw dirt at
somebody goofed,
everyone.
and
This
then
is
they
really
spent a
funny.
lot of money printing it out and said, "That's not Goodwill Hunting." What the hell? Did nobody read this before we send it out? Oh my god, they're gonna sue us. So yeah, so suddenly an obvious sticker had to be
Yeah, yeah.
factored and put over top of it. And fortunately Matt Damon never came after us, so that's
Oh,
good.
perfect.
No one wants it.
Is there any episodes that that you've written that you're like especially proud of?
Yeah, there are. There are episodes that still make me laugh, and that I showed to my kids. The episodes that make your kids laugh, make you
Okay.
feel satisfied. I don't remember the name of the one where I wanted to do a spoof of how the movie. It was sort of the movie The Freaks was re-released,
Okay.
the old black and white, The Freakish, and Kevin is being hit on by his teacher for underage canoodling or whatever. She's taking
Okay.
him home. My sons loved that one. They adored that one for some reason. Maybe it's the German expressionist black and white film part. I don't know. Um,
I can't remember
the
which one that is.
Say what?
I can't remember which one that is.
Okay. Kevin Spencer, The Freakish. Let's see. I'm Googling. The new Mr. Franklin. Is that what?
That's season one.
Oh, that's season one. No.
Maybe
Okay.
it's, I don't know.
Maybe no. No, no, no.
But I
Yeah.
also, yeah.
He has a female teacher who claims to love his poetry. Oh, Kevin,
Oh yeah, yeah.
poetry. And she
Shit, I
speaks weirdly. And then the
that
movie scares her so much at the end that she goes like no eye pupils anymore, and it's all eye whites, and her hair turns white, and Kevin just leaves. So no actual molestation goes on, thank goodness.
okay,
Uh,
okay.
uh, um, uh, the episode at the Swingers Club is a particular favorite.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's
it's a
drunken
Halloween
well.
episode.
Yeah.
The spirit of the giant crocodile or whatever that Percy put away gets
Yeah,
reanimated by Kevin by accident or something.
that's a great
And
one. Yeah, I love that.
I just love Percy at the Swingers Club. I look forward to banging most of you, maybe some of you fat. But and and the whole drunken welfare man. Anything that I wrote with drunken welfare man, I'm quite happy about. I like his sort of superhero character.
Yeah.
And there's a sex scene in the Swingers episode where I wrote it so it would be like one of the old Batman episodes but instead of sound effects, in Batman,
Yeah.
1960s Batman, there'd be the sound effects would come at the screen, bang or
Yeah.
punch or whatever.
I know
So instead, I
exactly what you're
have
talking about. Yeah, that
yeah. So I have
great
Percy having
episode.
sex and boff and
Yeah.
poke or whatever.
I love that
Uh,
scene. I think that's season 3. That's like a drunken welfare man versus evil. I think
that's exactly right. Yes,
yeah,
very good, very good. That's a personal
great
fave.
episode.
Um,
I saw that you wrote one of my personal favorite episodes, which is Homunculus from season 3, where Kevin gets
oh, thank
a
you.
brain damage from a throwing dart, which like uncovers his emotions. It's a great episode. I love that.
Crying all the time. Stop crying all the time. What the hell is this, bro? Turn off the waterworks. Yeah.
Like a kind of deep
Man, they
episode.
let me get away with they let us get away with so much wonderfully horrible imagery. Here's a kid with a lawn dart through the head.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god. And then I'm using that as a jumping off point to talking about Wilder Penfield and the Penfield homunculus, right? And later that Penfield homunculus became the bus driver, like in the
Oh
neighborhood.
yeah.
He'd turn up as a bus driver that Anastasia was always hitting on the bus drivers all the time.
Yeah. I remember that one.
He was a real bus driver groupie. But yeah, that was a personal fave. I like that one a lot for a lot of reasons. And also the Flower Festival. I like the Flower Festival one. Just Percy getting an old band that nobody else really cares about anymore.
They made
Kevin
that song. It's
Danger.
sorry.
Yes, it's all.
I know exactly. Danger. Yeah, it's all
It's a
around you.
good song, actually. I like it.
Great. And that's like, I have this, I prepared a big questionnaire for this interview, and one of the questions was like, where can I find an MP3 of Danger?
Oh, well, I think I could tell you. You would reach out to, I think Serge Cote.
Search Cote, and that's a note I have right next to it.
Yeah, Serge Cote, music director at the time, I think, and he's on Facebook actually, I believe. Okay. And if you like, I could actually message him right now and ask.
Can you do that? That would be great.
I'm doing that immediately right now.
Oh, thanks.
No
Maybe
worries.
I can interview Serge at some point.
I'm sure he wouldn't be 100% against it. Now we don't exactly like a lot of the old Kevin Spencer gang. We don't really hang out much, but
okay.
Hang on a sec here. Serge. Geez, my predictive text. There we go. Okay, and I don't want to stop the whole interview. Well, actually, I might have to soon because I'm going to have to leave in about 10 minutes.
Okay. I see. Rick, while you're writing to Serge,
but I'm not going to write it. I've left the tab open.
Yeah, so I see. Okay, that's great.
And we can do another interview sometime if you like. Sorry, I did.
That's what I also figured, because I had a huge questionnaire with a lot of interesting questions, and it was a lot. So if it would be fine with you, I would love to have a second interview.
Let's reschedule. Let's reschedule a part 2.
Sure. And it's gonna
It's been great to meet you.
Yeah, it's been so great. Okay, I have one final little question. Like I prepared a little thing here.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate the research, sir.
Okay, this isn't directly related to Kevin Spencer, but do you know who these guys are?
No.
They're
we used to call things like that Mainzelmenschen.
Okay, this is Kenny Hotz and this is Spencer Rice. They are
Kenny and Spenny.
Kenny and Spenny, exactly.
Kenny and Spenny, yeah, they toured live shows and everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I love Kenny versus Spenny so much. It's like
I don't know if they still.
Yeah. It's like
do they still tour?
Hangover show.
Odd. I don't know how they're still alive.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, the things they did, I don't understand it, but yeah, they've still got live shows coming up. My God, October 21st to 22nd, they're doing Apollo Cinema Kitchener, touring, Ontario, all over Ontario. Anyway, Rec Room.
Have you ever met any of them?
No, no, I never got the opportunity, I'm afraid. I sort of suffered a bit just being the guy I should have taken that office. I would have been more a part of the scene. But then I think I would have written differently. And that goes back to so much of writing depends on the incubator you keep your brain in, right? And I feel I did better scripts because I sort of stayed away from the scene and focused on just, whatever it was that I was doing at that time and putting it into the work, so. Yeah, but no, Kenny and Spenny, they're still out there swinging away.
Love them so much.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should tour. Emerson Lake presents Kenny and Spenny in Sweden.
You probably heard this before, but so you're Emerson Lake, but where's Palmer? Yeah,
in the bathroom, living up to his name. That's the patented answer to that one.
That's an incredible comeback.
Well, you got to have the good ones ready to go,
So this is the continuation of the interview with Rick Kaulbars, one of the main writers of the show Kevin Spencer, which I'm very sure everyone on this channel is very familiar with since you are subscribing.
I hope so.
Yeah. And Rick, we had an excellent conversation a week ago. It was a blast talking to you, and I didn't really have time to go through the questions that I that I wanted. So it was good that we could schedule another interview.
Yes, let's prioritize your questions so we make sure we check those boxes before we start
Yeah.
goofing off.
Yeah, sure. But first, I want to hear, how was Dracula? Because you saw
Oh,
Dracula in a cemetery.
it
Is
was,
that right?
I forgot how horny Dracula, even the old one, is. You know,
Okay.
I mean, here's lilting voiced male protagonist Harker. Oh, and his girlfriend Mina. Oh, Mina, I love you so much, Mina. And then she meets Dracula, who is, hello, I am Dracula, and he throws his cock down on the table. And I go, wait a minute, there's a lot of sex here. You don't see any sex, but there's a lot of sex here because I mean,
Oh, wow.
You got Wimpy Harker, and then I am going to give you a taste of the wild side, baby, and she wants more, and then
I see. Yeah.
and it was a wild experience to have in a graveyard, but
Okay.
nevertheless,
Okay. I see.
um, but it gave me a new appreciation. Dracula is actually a very life affirming movie,
Okay.
and
It is.
very clandestinely sexual. So
Okay.
uh,
Okay. I see.
my wimpy boyfriend, yeah, he says he loves me, but that deep voiced foreign man, who is that deep voiced foreign man? He is so exciting, like, oh well. None of this made sense to me when I was a kid, right? So you're like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
so yeah, good times.
nice. It's great to hear that. And this was the Bela Lugosi version.
The Bela Lugosi original, but
Okay.
if you like horny vampire stuff, I'd like to emphatically recommend a film starring the great cinema star Catherine Deneuve from France.
Okay.
I don't know if you're acquainted with her, but smoking hot for her time.
Okay.
And Catherine Deneuve and David Bowie starred as vampire brother and
Oh
sister.
shit! I see.
Yeah, a film called The Hunger. That might have
The
been
Hunger.
The Hunger in the 80s. And much more graphic seduction going on there, and that's what I was thinking about when I was watching the classic Dracula. I'm like, oh yeah, well yeah, it's
Okay.
always been lust, blood, and sex, isn't it?
It sounds marvelous. And I heard you were going to see another movie tonight.
Tonight. Well, no, we're not going to see a movie. When you're married long enough, you say you have a date night, and you actually just mean the two of you are going to watch the same movie on television. But
Okay. I see.
but it's still together time,
Yeah.
making the schedules work. So tonight, this might not mean anything to anyone who's not in Canada, but in Canada, we had a show that was very similar to Mr. Rogers, called Mr. Dressup. Actually, the two actors who played Mr. Rogers and Mr. Dressup were very good friends.
Okay.
And so they made a documentary. I mean, the performers have long passed away now, but they made a documentary about the 35-year-long Canadian kids show about this man who, was just like Mr. Rogers, use your imagination, be friendly to people. I have a puppet, whatever, like as a
great values.
and you go, this show was made for 20 cents and shouldn't have mattered. And I'm gonna watch this documentary tonight and cry like a 10-year-old boy about lost youth and all the wonderful things that he tried to tell the world and all that. I mean, it's a documentary about a kids show that most Canadian kids were raised with. So that's a date night movie. It's sloppy, and there's not a lot of cred that goes with it, but when you're old, you get suffocated in your own nostalgia. So
yeah, I was just gonna say that it sounds very, very cozy and sounds very nostalgic.
oh sure.
Yeah, and I know Kevin Spencer means a lot of nostalgia for me. Like
In fact, Mr. Dressup is in a Kevin Spencer episode.
Yes.
Just for seconds. There's an episode of Kevin Spencer that must have baffled the rest of the world, because I just filled it with all kinds of Canadian icons, former Canadian It's called Bruno Gerussi Must Die, and in that episode, in that episode, almost every Canadian TV show was represented by one actor or character. And at the end of, I think, Act 2, they kick in a door and say, "Come on, we're breaking out of the old age TV home," or whatever. And it's Mr. Dress Up and his dog and Casey.
Oh, it is. Okay, I didn't know that. I know exactly which episode you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's season 3 and has the undertitle Chess Club. I'm pretty sure.
I love Chess Club. I love Chess Club. It's the only organized sport you can still chain smoke. That was true. The Russians wouldn't put up with it. All right.
Because for the past week, I've been looking through like the Kevin Spencer Wikipedia site just to see which episodes you had written, and I saw that you had written the episode "Serial Killer" from season 4. You remember that episode?
I'm about to. Let me say. You keep talking, and I'll be looking it up.
It's one of my personal favorites. It's when Percy takes Kevin to Hooters. I think it's called. Or no, I think it's called Boobies in the show, but it's supposed to be like the equivalent of Hooters.
Sure.
And it was a while ago since I watched it, but I'm pretty sure there's some kind of killer story. But I remember there's a climax at the ending where like a few people are throwing horseshoes at one another, and I'm pretty sure Percy has this fantastic quote where it says, "That's victim mentality bullshit." You remember that?
It's a saying that certainly was popular, but yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of favorites, or?
Oh yeah, I totally do. Let me just bring up.
I don't. It's not a test. I don't want to test that.
Thing is, I have a plan because I want to keep the channel alive, and I've been meaning to do like a top 10 list in the near future. So I don't think I want to spoil like every single one of my favorites. But I see that you have written one of my personal favorites of all time, which is Goodwill Spencer, which I mentioned pretty briefly during our last interview, which was mislabeled Goodwill Hunting on the DVD.
That's right. I still love that.
Yeah, it's such a great episode. Like, it has those tropes from Goodwill Hunting, and it's also, I'm pretty sure it's the introduction of Drunken Welfare Man.
That's right. Yeah.
When Kevin becomes like a sort of a hacker and reroutes all the phone calls from that is supposed to go to the emergency department to Percy's phone, which leads to him becoming this hero.
Yeah. And at the end of it, it was all also a kind of a comment about hacking and finding out, in a society where everyone pretends to be morally upstanding, Kevin freaks them out and pranks, pretending that, oh no, but I've got all your private stuff, and all you morally upstanding bullshit artists are full of shit. And I sort of enjoyed the editorial cartoon quality of that one for sure.
Yeah. It's one of my personal favorites. I'm pretty sure it's also the introduction of the character Timmy McNaughton, I think it's called.
Timmy
the hacker kid.
Yeah. And also, the McNaughton family in general was sort of an attempt to show that even families that kind of, put on all the looks that you want on the, they look like the happy family compared to the Spencer, but they tend to have their own secrets too. Every house has its secret, every problem, so.
I remembered the episode from season 7 called Blowjob. You've written that episode.
It sounds familiar. Is that the hurricane?
It was the hurricane, the hurricane episode, right, when the Spencers get the big screen TV and they like watch so much porn on it that the neighbors like flood around the house to peek through the window.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
That's based on a true story.
Okay.
So how is that based on a true story? So when the first 2 seasons of Kevin Spencer and the money's coming in, and I'm going, and you make irrational choices. Now, you can make the irrational choice, go to the casino, which is, bad idea. Luckily, it was never a thing I was interested in. But Yeah, I bought like a 6-foot wide projection screen television for my much too small living room.
Okay.
And I sort of got the joke, this television powered by child labor. And
Oh, yeah.
the opposite side, these two kids escape or something,
Yes, I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah. But I had done that. I had done what Percy
Okay.
did. They had this outrageous, my poor wife who wasn't thrilled, but it was good for. This is where I learned the problem with big screen television. It's great for movies. It's annoying for everything else. Oh, I just want to watch the news and get the update. I don't need the news in IMAX. I don't need IMAX 360 news. And oh no, here comes a commercial for toe fungus. Ah, I can see the toe fungus. They're showing it's a 6-foot toe fungus. So, so now I have a projector that I can look at movies, and I just watch regular size news, and I find it's a lot less anxiety. But yeah, like I'd walk home, and somebody'd be watching something and the big blue luminescent glow of that screen, you could see it from down the street, and I was like, oh my god, like that thing's pretty crazy. Like
Yeah.
the kids put an end to it. They decided they were knights of the round table with a broomstick handle, and they jousted right through the screen. So
Oh, correct.
that was the end of that TV. And again, I think probably for the best.
It was for the best. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, blowjob. That was my comment on climate change, child labor, and the challenges of having a big screen TV all in one episode. So
That was very interesting to hear. Do you have any other episodes that you've written that you try to include some kind of commentary or something that you have reflected on in your own life?
Well,
Or in
probably.
society?
I mean, I already talked at great length about the the band episode, but the band episode certainly was very real. Like that was very real. That guy I told you about, the tow truck driver, I mean, that was from the life of the neighborhood in which I lived. More often you'd see something happen where it wasn't a complete episode, but there'd be little things happening in it that were things that I knew from people in my neighborhood, like whether it was putting gum on a coat hanger to try and fish welfare checks out of people's, it's all internet now, so nobody does that anymore. But trying to fish welfare checks or social security checks out of people's mailbox. That was a thing that this old man in our neighborhood used to brag about doing. He'd come into the pizzeria and, just old Dave. His name was Old Dave Wynn, and he was
Dave Wynn.
Old Dave Wynn was as Percy Spencer as you were ever going to be. And except he had a beard and mustache, but he was basically Percy Spencer. And the episode where Percy tries to go down on himself, and then Kevin belt around his neck, and he tries to blow himself in a bathtub.
Shit, I remember this. Oh, which episode is that?
And then Kevin walks in and sees him, has to save him because his ass is stick. He's drowning in like 6 inches of water. He flipped over in the bathtub. That I can't speak to the truth of it by saying I saw it, but old Dave Wynn is the one who told us that happened to him.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in prison, and they told me if you were in a bathtub of warm water, your back would get flexible enough, and then you put a neck belt around your neck and your knees, and you could get down, and you could. And but all I did was flip over backwards, and I was drowning in 6 inches of water, and I was like, "Oh Jesus, man!" And the kids had to come and get me out, and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?" I just heard about it in prison. They told me you could do this, and like, so. Yeah, that was another old Dave Wynn gem that went into the episode.
There reminds me of the old rumors about Marilyn Manson, how he removed his ribs to be able to suck his dick.
Well, I can think of better ways. I don't know if I'd go in for surgery for something like that, but good for him. Yikes.
I want to ask you a bit about creating Kevin Spencer. Like, what was?
Well, you'd have to talk to Greg. You'd have to talk to Greg on that. I mean, it was such a you know, it was kind of and again, this goes to how weird this was, kind of a done deal when I got it. As you know, I told you I got a little shoebox, and I took my little shoebox home and said, "Can I wrap my head around this?" Yeah, I think so. And but as to how it was created or how he envisioned it, Greg Lawrence is the only one that I would trust to speak to that, because it was I was not there for the ground floor, I'm sorry to say.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I can see if Greg's available on the internet. I don't know.
I've tried looking that up, and he doesn't seem super available online.
No, is he? I haven't looked him up on Facebook in a while. But
I don't think I've found him there. I found his Twitter. I'm pretty sure his Twitter name is Von Taint.
Well, yeah, that tracks. That sounds right.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, I guess he got off Facebook. I only got like 3 Greg Lawrences, so yeah, well, wonder what happened to him. You know who you ask is Serge Cote, because he probably still works with Serge. So when you do your interview with Serge, see if you can get in touch.
And by the way, thank you very much for hooking me up with Serge. We're gonna have an interview on Wednesday. So that's excellent. Yeah. I was also meaning to ask you, like, it's not really about Kevin Spencer, but you know, it seems to me like you really like film and perhaps even music and stuff. And like, what entertains you today?
Oh boy, my God. I'm always excited about new media. I'm always excited about, even though, my kids now inform me, well, it's not new, but things like YTPs or Instagram shit posting or meme compilations. The boys still love to sit down with Dad and watch a 10-minute meme compilation.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's sort of our thing to do. And but I get excited about the future of media in general. How so many of the youngsters now who are digital natives and way ahead of everybody are without regard to copyright. Who cares about copyright? They're going to deconstruct, reassemble it any way they want, and make their own little shit posts and stuff. And I love that. I think it's really neat. I think it bodes well for the future of some sort of interesting, unique way of wrapping media around itself, and keeping it fresh for the future. So, meme compilations, YTPs, that's one thing. I love biking. I love writing. I've, I don't know if I mentioned, I finished a feature film screenplay that I'm going to try and get out the door before Christmas.
Okay. I think you might have mentioned something about that last time.
That's the thing about writing. Like, as a writer, no job lasts forever, and you have to put your heart around that. Even when I got Kevin Spencer and it was going great, I knew right away. I said, it's television though, so it's not like a government job. You can't do this same show until you retire, much as you'd love to. But you take the good, and when it dries up, you have to keep trying to kick something up in the air. And that's one of the things I keep doing. Trying not to pour too much of my spare time into the time wasting, the addictively time wasting toilet of Microsoft Flight Simulator or XCOM or Wastelands 3 or
but that sounds very entertaining.
city skylines. There's so many the technology. God, I was and this is the sad, I was around when Pong came out, I lined up with a handful of quarters with every other 12-year-old punk in my neighborhood at a local laundromat and I still remember all the steam inside the laundry mat there would crystallize on the big windows, and everyone was excited, we'd come up there and all the crystal and that laundry smell. and you go in and everybody was fighting to get a chance at fucking Pong. You know, like, whoa, oh, I got the Pong. No, I got the Pong. And then some kid in the neighborhood got the home version, the cheap ass old home version. Oh my God, he was king for the summer. You know, everybody. Oh, you're everybody's friend. And
was that like the Atari 2600, or was this like even before that?
Yeah. This might have been before that. I mean, let me see if I can. It was definitely Atari.
Okay.
But I don't know if there was there anything before the 2600?
Wow, I don't really know.
No, it was definitely Atari 2600. And
Okay,
I still remember Christmas shopping at the local mall, and they'd have the Atari 2600, and I mean, with the worst games by modern standards, the worst, like Tank Battle. Is that a tank? You know, like, is that but when you'd walk into like the big mall and they'd have a display of that game system, which was like a marvel at the time, and like a crowd 3 kids deep, all around it, just so they could Pong and Tank or whatever their brains out, and you just knew you had to have it. It was just the 1979 1980 version of gamer addiction, and just sort of, oh my God, we're in a new world now, man. It's changing.
Well, I really get asked, because I see that you have written the episode, the Kevin Spencer episode, Jacked In, from season 3, which I think sounds like it borrows heavily from these themes.
Yes, Jacked In.
Where I remember the episode starts with a montage of Percy playing arcade games at like the mall throughout different decades.
It was probably just me getting all nostalgic.
Okay. And then Kevin gets this, like, he goes into this virtual reality simulator where I think they implant something in his brain, and it's also one of the first, if not the absolute first, episode that features the character Shauna.
Oh yeah,
do you remember Shauna?
Pseudo girlfriend? Yes.
Yeah, pseudo girlfriend.
Although never really followed up on that for any reason, but young Percy at the mall, playing the games, and oh my God, I'm actually watching a bit of it. Yeah. And then oh yeah, I'm going through far too many memories here, but high score.
It's okay, take your time, Rick. It's
yeah, I used to like the old Excite Bike. Excite Bike was a game.
Oh yeah. And
Kevin putting his name on the best of high score stuff was a thing that I likewise did with Excite Bike. Oh yeah, and then of course Morbius from Matrix outfit. That wasn't something I wrote. That was on Greg's end of things, but that was cool.
Okay.
It got very Matrix at the end.
Oh yeah, I really remember that.
Far out. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. You tuned in exactly to the episode that kind of spoke to all that video game ferment of that era. So
and
I mean, it's a good thing. I can just, if I'm ever on death's door, I can just tell my kids, go watch Kevin Spencer and you'll see most of my childhood. if you're ever interested.
Are you interested in music of any kind?
I'm always looking. Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I'm always looking for new music. But there was, it's an evolving thing over time. So I mean, my origins was, Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was my big album where I go, oh wow, music's neat.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Like,
yeah.
Pink Floyd is really timeless.
Thank goodness, because Roger Waters hasn't aged well. But anyway, so
I heard something about a concert he held this week where he like reinvented the Dark Side of the Moon or something, and like people left the concert hall.
Well, I mean, I'm not against experimenting. Hey, experiment away. But he was not playing music. He was reading from his book for like for 20-minute stretches, then maybe would play some music.
Yeah.
And people were like, he's just gonna keep reading for 20 minutes and then play one song. I'm out of here. No, this ain't working for me. So but Pink Floyd was the big deal. And I mean, Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, but I'm always looking for new music, and I like all kinds. I like anthem songs. If there's an anthem song that gets my blood going, that makes me want to run into a forest and fight people or something. If there's a really good dance mix that really drops a beat hard, and I don't dance. But I want to be in that club around that energy when other people are dancing and sort of boom, and go, wow, But the ironic thing is, for all the availability of technology these days and all the availability of, streaming shows, streaming this and downloading that, I still need to sort of feel connected to a live community. So in the same way that some people want to play interactively on video games, not me. On video games, I use to hide from the world, but radio, I still tune in because I want to learn new songs. I want to learn what this generation's listening to. Maybe there's something I like, in fact, there's a lot of things I end up liking, and some of it is, mashups and mixes of older songs that I used to like.
Okay.
So, and I'm very much at an age now where, I would never pretend to be a scholar on the kind of music that whoever is listening to today, but I enjoy it. And then I meet my peers who are my own age, and they have no interest at all.
Okay.
No interest at all. Oh, the kids today with that music. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're crazy. It's still music. It's new music, and it's coming out all the time. And there's new voices interpreting it in ways, and you're cheating yourself out of one of the great connectivities to the grand tapestry of humanity is exploring culture, exploring something else, and fighting against this dogmatic ideal that, I mean, is there anything more hackneyed and a trope than an old person barking about young people music? I mean, but when I see my friends become those people, I go, you're becoming the cliche. Don't become the cliche. It's the next step to the grave, man. You don't have to love it, but at least observe it without prejudice. Listen and do something,
You don't want to become the cliche boomer.
Geez, there's enough of them, the world's already full of them. It makes me sick.
Is there like any particular modern artists or songs or something that has connected with you?
You're gonna be very disappointed, or not. I don't know.
Okay.
Am I part of the Swift Army? No. I like 4 of her songs a great deal. Anti-Hero. Okay. There's a couple of them I really think are bangers.
I agree. Anti-Hero is a banger.
I had a bit of a Nicki Minaj problem for a while.
Okay. I love the song "Stupid Ho" from Nicki Minaj.
Oh,
it's a personal favorite of mine.
I like super bass. I don't know. I like super bass.
Oh
yeah. Let's see here. I was quite the Lady Gaga fan for a while.
Oh yeah.
I liked her, and I mean, I still like them. I still like whatever, but I know I just like what I like. I hear it and I go, like in the years when I was doing stand-up comedy, I was doing a weekend of shows in Niagara Falls, Ontario, and myself and 2 other guys, we were, just partying. It was the show was over. We'd done the show, and we were in an American nightclub. We walked across the border to the United States, and in the middle of the nightclub, all of a sudden there's this really low droning thumping sound, and I'm like, what the hell? And it was Nirvana, and it was Smell Like Teen Spirit. And then I saw the video weeks later for Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I go, this changes everything. I was so excited. And it was already not my generation. I was already aged out of it by that point, but I was so music is new again. Music has been ripped apart and reinterpreted by somebody with something interesting, a new and interesting approach. And I went all crazy for Nirvana, and I was so happy, and I like my Foo Fighters, of course, too,
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Nirvana led to Foo Fighter Fancy, and oh, there's just too much. I mean, my God, I could dial up my iTunes and just go through.
Oh yeah, go ahead. But are there
And
any
I also like, if you're looking nostalgia, I like really old blues, like old jazz blues and things, things that are from like 1903, like rackety. Well, I'm going down to the music. What's he even saying? I don't know what he's saying, but I love it. I just don't know what it is. But
are there any particular Canadian artists that you like or that you would recommend?
Yes. And let me just dial it up. Because the lead singer passed away recently.
Okay.
Nobody outside of Canada, and this is quite unique. Nobody outside of Canada seems to know, or maybe they've heard of it. I'm going to type the name here. The band Tragically Hip. Whoop.
Yeah, I know. I've listened to Tragically Hip. I'm going to see here.
Yeah,
Disaster is great.
It either catches on or it doesn't, but I'll tell you, they were so beloved. And even I wasn't their biggest fan, but I certainly was used to their music. Like I go, okay, this is Tragically Hip, and I like them. They're good stuff. But like when their lead singer Gord Downey passed away, our national broadcaster threw a whole evening's worth of advertising out the window and said, okay, we're going to just air a concert. Actually, this is before he passed away. He was still alive enough to do a concert, and it was going to be the final concert was going to be broadcast on our national CB. And and which is, by the way, I think one of the benefits of a national broadcaster. They can say, something's important enough, throw the game shows out of here for a minute. Here, here we go. Here's the final concert. And Tragically Hip certainly is wound into as part of the landscape or audio landscape of this country, and myself personally. But I mean, when I was younger, you might check out the Who, the Guess Who. There's the Who.
I just gotta Google the Guess Who. I recognize this a lot. American Woman.
Yeah, definitely.
But like Tragically Hip, I think like 1 year ago, I listened a lot to Tragically Hip. There was one particular album, I think it was called Road Apples.
Yeah.
Pretty early 90s. Let's see. Yeah, Road Apples from 1991. I don't really know how I found out about him, but I was kind of into the Tragically Hip like 1 year ago.
One of the great poets, if you're looking for a writer of lyrics, and another beloved Canadian who passed away recently, Gordon Lightfoot, and one of my favorite songs of his. If you could read mine.
Let's see here. I remember hearing that he passed away. I'm not sure if I'm too familiar with Gordon Lightfoot.
Well, again, you've got culture to explore if you want. He's a balladeer type. He's a balladeer type who's, you almost imagine him hitchhiking along a highway, getting to a small roadhouse, and and I loved her and she left me, But I'm oversimplifying because his lyrics are quite beautiful, and if I just recommend the light touch of If You Could Read My Mind, it's not dance music, it's very light. If you're looking for a novelty singer who I mean, you could almost say this man's name, or at least when he was alive, you could say this person's name and you might as well be saying Maple Leaf or Hockey Stick, like he's that Canadian.
Okay.
He was an eccentric character, and his name was Stompin' Tom Connors.
Stompin' Tom Connors.
Stompin' Tom Connors. Now,
Okay.
I'm not I'm not going to say I was a fan, but you just couldn't avoid his music. So I know all his music. You
Okay.
know, they were all songs about walking on the highway. And then, uh, let's see. Hey, Michelle, did you have any favorite Stompin' Tom? Okay, there was the hockey game, the good old hockey game. It's the best game you can name. And he could get
So,
a whole
yeah.
tavern full of just fist fighty drunks singing and in love. And oh, the good old hockey game. And then they'd be swinging around and falling over. Percy Spencer, if I was still writing this show, I'd write some made up character, tapping Jack Jackson or something that was stomped up. He even carried a board around with him that he would stomp on. That's why they call him Stomp.
Okay.
Because he'd stomp his foot to the music, and he'd actually over time stomp holes in these boards so that he didn't wreck the stage. He didn't want to lose gigs because he was wrecking somebody's stage, but he had these big cowboy boots. Hey, do, and you'll have fun looking up him because that's
Okay. I see.
Stompin' Tom.
Yeah.
And he did hitchhike. He didn't want to sell out to the Fame game, and literally like walked on train tracks just to walk to gigs, like and hitchhike with his guitar, and just a real character.
Okay. Thanks for the recommendation. The story about
Percy Spencer music, you want Stompin' Tom. That's what you're gonna get.
And this story about stomping on boards, like I love experimentation so much. Like the old, like the industrial music movement from like the 70s and 80s, where people were playing on like band saws and just making noise. I really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I love experimentation. I love hearing. Doesn't mean I love all of the results, but I love the fact that it's being done, and about 20% of those results are kind of neat. And I do try to catch in, but but at least it's being done. At least somebody's out there mixing it up.
Yeah. So. Can I mention some Canadian artists that I like, just to see if you know anything about them? Let's see. Okay, there are some obvious ones like Leonard Cohen, Joni Mitchell, but like those are pretty obvious.
Classic. Leonard Cohen was, if we're going back to a youth misspent in taverns, there was one of the bars in my neighborhood, Hemingway's, and believe me, nobody went there was Hemingway. I'll tell you that. But it was so. But at closing time, they would play the Leonard Cohen song, "Closing Time," and that's how you knew that it was last call for alcohol, and no more bar was going to be served when you heard Leonard Cohen. So as soon as you heard Leonard Cohen, everybody's running to the bar. Oh my God! Oh, it's closing time! Oh my God! But yeah, Leonard Cohen is so good that people make me hate him because songs that I used to like get overplayed. And so, and now the death of my hamster Wooly, I'm going to sing Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, not again. I hear nothing but ever since Paul Newman passed away, and here's Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. Stop it! Just stop. Leave him alone. Oh my God!
Like I've been playing the piano for like 15 years or something, and I always love to play "So Long Marian" from his debut album. Like I think the song is so beautiful, and and every time we have family gatherings, I always play that one and get everyone to sing along with it.
Well, he was really a master of melancholy. He could really, he could really find a. Is this song happy? No, not quite, but it's not so sad either. And you're trying to figure out, he's in this area, and he knows he's in this area, and that's his genre, and he's just sort of, I'm sorry we broke up, but at least we had each other for the time we had, and well, Leonard Cohen, liked him a lot.
Fantastic.
And Joni Mitchell, oh my God, talk about doesn't answer to anyone, lives by her own rules, and has the artistic gunpowder to back it all up. The vocals of all her early music, or early years, the wild lyrics and everything. No, she was amazing. Well, still is amazing. She did a concert a couple of weeks ago somewhere. I see. Oh man, we're going to the Joni Mitchell. Really? Wow, she's still going. Good for her.
Yeah. Her album Blue is a personal favorite of mine.
Oh,
I
well
really
done.
love. I love that song. What is it called? I wanna be strong. I wanna laugh alone. I wanna belong to the living. It's called
Oh, nice.
All I Want.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
my wife was shouting out in the back. What did you shouted out? River?
Yeah, River is so great. I love River.
I could skate away on the
I
river. Yeah,
wish
that's
I had
very.
a river I could skate away on. Yeah, I
I know.
love that one. So
Well, as
so
my
great.
wife just, as Michelle just said, a more Canadian lyric you won't find. You know, skate away on it. Oh, okay, yeah. He's not running away or getting a gun to shoot his girlfriend, but he's skating. Oh, she's skating away on a river or something. So,
Okay,
um,
so let's say this is a very not a very, but a more modern band I really love. But it's Arcade Fire.
oh yes, little recent scandal, of course, but yeah, Arcade Fire.
Oh
Had,
yeah, of course. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
yeah, no, but some of their music was quite intoxicating in a kind of surrealistic, hypnotic mood kind of way. So, yeah,
Oh yeah.
Arcade. Great stuff. And they did amazing things with like live sampling their own music and then putting it into a loop that they then played along with live on stage. Again, the exciting boundaries in media, you know, exciting pioneering events in media, you know.
Yeah. And I also really love Godspeed You Black Emperor. Are you familiar with them?
Okay, now you've lost me. Let's see. I'm looking it up. Oh, there it is. Is this a Canadian band?
Yes, they're from Montreal.
Oh yeah, it's post rock. Oh,
it's
wow.
post rock. They have very lengthy songs. Like their songs are always 20 minutes or more, and it's purely instrumental, and it has like these huge crescendos. It's like one song is like one crescendo pretty much.
Okay.
So it's very patience testing music. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but
I'm hot linking that because I have a feeling songs like that don't get played on much radio except student radio because commercial radio just won't put up with anything over 4 minutes, right? And then it's a commercial. Commercial. How can we put a commercial in this? Put it in the middle of the song.
If I were to recommend one album to you, if you were to be interested, they have an album from the year 2000 called "Lift Your Skinny Fist Like Antennas to Heaven."
Oh,
and it's absolutely incredible. Like I would recommend you to
It's like it's only got 2 tracks on it, but they're all like 18 to 20 minutes long. Okay, it's got 4 tracks. That's amazing.
I would recommend to hear the first song. I think it's called Storm. If you don't like it, you shouldn't listen to the rest. But if you do like it, then go ahead.
Well, that's what I'm gonna steal that track. Just watch me do it. It's shameful. Okay, so.
Oh, I see here. Are you familiar with Mort Garson?
Mort Garson.
Mort Garson. He's an old he made like what you used to call like space age pop, like progressive electronic music.
I think you're getting into the weeds on me there now.
Okay. He has one fantastic album called Plantasia, which is like the coziest album you will ever hear. Like,
really?
It's like the friendliest, most compassionate album in the world. The description is warm earth music for plants and the people who love them.
Well, I'm won over now. I want earth music for plants.
It's wonderful. It's not so long. It's only half an hour.
I don't know. You might have heard we've legalized marijuana here in Canada, so we want to look after them.
Of course. Of
course. What's the Swedish situation on that? Is it still illegal?
Oh, yeah, it's still illegal and it's pretty restrictive here.
I'm so sorry,
Yeah, but here in Uppsala, in the student masses, like everyone smokes pot.
Yeah, I don't want you to admit anything on a recording that
No, I don't actually. I don't smoke pot, but people here smoke
No,
pot.
fair enough. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and I don't do
Yeah.
it. I don't do anything during the day, because during the day is when you sell yourself as a marketable commodity. But man, when it's like anything, before it was legalized, oh, if we legalize this, people will be dead in the ditches and dying in the streets and rapists running around and all this sort of thing. And then it got legalized, and nothing happened, and except that we built on a very profitable strut onto the economy, which is bringing in millions and millions every year. So
Wow.
yeah, so
I really, yeah.
it's
I
good
hope
time.
Sweden will. Yeah, I hope Sweden will follow in your footsteps.
Well, I just hope anything that keeps, anything that keeps a kid who has a future from getting a criminal record over something stupid because they sucked a joint at a concert or something. To me, that's
yeah, I know. It's
horrible.
It's just horrible. It's yeah. It's so bad.
Suddenly, oh, you've got a criminal record for drugs. Yeah, but not like heroin. It's not heroin. I wasn't doing cocaine with Tony Montana. Some 14, 16-year-old punk who got thrown in because somebody left a roach around or something is such a waste of law enforcement. And
yeah,
I'm against law enforcement. I just wish they'd enforce bigger problems. So,
of course, yeah.
Well, good luck to you there. I'll mail you a box.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, Ludwig, we received this box from a man in Canada. Oh, no. I had a friend who got arrested for that.
Okay.
He was, well, I shouldn't say friend, a former student, but I won't name names anyways. But
okay.
Before it was legal, he thought it would be a good idea to mail boxes of marijuana to the Northwest Territories in the Arctic, because it could resell up there for 10 times whatever it was down here, of course, because everything is 10 times as expensive up there, right? So for shipping and getting it up there. But I don't know how he didn't clue into the idea that, the postal system probably has this looks like weed. Well, the dog's noticing it, so yeah, he got 10 months for that. But
I see.
A hard lesson learned for him.
Yeah.
What a world we live in. So there are people getting out of jail now for possession of marijuana, and they want to get their first job, and they apply. This is a Percy Spencer thing I'd totally do. Or Charlie, actually, it would be a Charlie Plunt story. But Charlie Plunt gets out of jail for possession or growing marijuana, and he emerges into a world that it's now legalized. This would be the starting of the movie. And then he goes to get a job interview at a marijuana plant. Sure thing, they'll hire me because I used to grow this stuff. And then they go, well, yeah, but you have a criminal record. Yeah, for growing marijuana. That's what I'm here for. I need to do it really well. Well, we can't hire you. What are you talking about? This is a marijuana plant, So that would be my opening. I don't know how we'd lead into anything from there, but just to have Charlie getting no job at the plant, growing plants that he used to grow. Oh man, there's a Kafka turnaround for you.
Yeah. If you were to start up Kevin Spencer again, are there any episode ideas you would have that you would like to?
Oh, I mean, that there's too much.
Yeah.
There's too much now, because I mean, I also have to be careful because like there are things like we had a comedy troupe in Canada called Kids in the Hall, very popular, and I liked them a great deal. I watched them. I was very fond of them, and they had their much ballyhooed reboot announced, and they were going to reboot and start again now. Of course, much older, but they were going to try it out, and it didn't work. Now, having said that, I totally think Kevin Spencer could, because it's kind of timeless. With the Kids in the Hall, well, they definitely weren't kids anymore. They were, they were gentlemen in their 60s with gray hair trying to do the same characters again. So instead of the comedic vibe, all I got was sort of a disheartening sense of how far time has passed. And I think that's kind of effect that it had on a lot of people. And so nobody wanted to be reminded how old they were. And having said that, if they had done this, but with a totally, maybe still funny, still comedy, but a different concept that wasn't them just trying to do the same characters and the same sketches again, then maybe a new audience would have kind of bought into them and said, oh, look at this, these wacky guys. And apparently they used to have a show when they were younger. I would have given that a little more traction. But to just sort of say, okay, well, now we're really old, but we're going to do the same old, that didn't work. Kevin Spencer, I'd love to do like a movie or something set in modern times. Maybe the whole family just gets out of jail. I don't know, and they're in the internet age. They're in TikTok, Twitch, YouTube. I mean, Kevin would definitely have a channel. Whether anyone watched it, it would, like, yeah, the boy's got a YouTube channel. He's got 16 subscribers. Like, yeah. These sorts of things. I'd love to take a kick at the can with, but Percy would definitely be led astray by the various convoy or fascist factions, just because, I mean, they're totally his cup of tea. Like he'd be down there with the January 6th or whatever else, but he'd just be there because same reason a lot of them were there, just because they're a bunch of drunks and they're just for freedom. That election was stolen. Like anything at all. Like that would be a total Percy thing. And Kevin would be all about the tech. Charlie probably after that opening, maybe open his own shop, probably try to go. And then Percy'd lose all respect for him for going legitimate and selling out to the system, like. But yeah, no, there are so many Kevin Spencers started with no firm story in mind, and sometimes I would doodle. I'd take a piece of paper to a local pub and I'd draw a circle, and in it I'd write Percy Spencer's name, and then I'd write Anastasia, and then I write Kevin. But then I do like that movie A Beautiful Mind, where I draw lines between them. And so, okay, maybe Anastasia is getting some German relative sending her a bag of douches from overseas for her birthday or something. Oh wow, I got these fancy European douchebags. Okay, thanks Anastasia. And find a way to make that angle off, into some storyline that's completely unrelated to it, but has to make sense in the thing. Like I had one episode, and sometimes I was always trying to get away with something really filthy without too many people noticing. So there was the time Percy got in trouble. He interrupted the taping of a used car ad with a local football star, and the local football star was ladies and gentlemen, here to tell you about so-and-so Motors is football legend Dixon Kuntz. But it's Dixon Kuntz. And that's right, Dixon Kuntz here for so-and-so Motors. And because the lettering was on the screen, we got away with it. Like it's still everything. I think it's still Dixon Kuntz for so-and-so automotive dealership. And then Percy goes, well, maybe if you could catch a football once in a while, slams the hood and crushes his valuable football. Oh, yeah. And is a pariah in the community as a result. But yeah, I mean, some of these jokes, these are old writer tricks where sometimes you put the most offensive thing you can think of, and that way you can get a whole bunch of not quite as offensive stuff hidden in it. And they'll always put the most red button one. Hey, you can't say that. Oh, okay, I get it. You better cut that one. And then they ignore all the other stuff that you snuck in under the wire, right?
Perfect.
Writer tricks.
All right. And that's I remember that episode. That's pretty late in the show, I think. I think that's season 8.
Oh yes. But I was very proud of that one.
Yeah.
For all the wrong reasons. Look about Dixon Kuntz right on the TV. I mean, woohoo! Yes, that's like a Nobel Prize, Rick. Well done. Happy.
Which characters did you think it was the most fun to write for?
The one that came the most naturally was Percy.
Okay.
Percy still lives in my brain. Percy walks around and complains or whatever, nondescript. Oh, what the fuck did you do that for? Jesus Christ! Percy is still very much a connective tissue to, again, that old Dave Wynn character. I
Oh yeah.
mean, Dave Wynn, who'd show up like the central hub of our old neighborhood was this pizzeria with a sit-down Donkey Kong table. There's nothing else to do, so you go hang out. The pizza people didn't mind; they were whatever, as long as you're playing video games. And all the local drunks who didn't feel like walking far enough to go up to the pub would just see people hanging out in the pizza place and sort of, what are you doing? And old Dave Witt would walk in and he'd have a black eye and a fat lip. And you go, what happened, Dave? Cops beat me up in the parking lot at the beach. Oh, really? Why was that? Well, I was doing some credit card scams, but they caught me, and then I told them to fuck off, and they beat me up.
Sounds so much like Percy.
Yeah, maybe if you didn't tell them to fuck off so much, Dave, they go home and try and suck your own dick again, see if that works out. So, and yeah, I mean, and they were sort of, I mean, in a much more sad way, whereas Kevin Spencer was kind of a comedy, but I mean, it was a comedy based on, that family were very messed up and very troubled. Okay. We'd hang out at their house and they'd be working on the car and they decide, they got a gravel driveway and they decide they're going to spin the back wheels of their car on their gravel driveway. And of course, fire gravel into the sides of passing cars that got very upset. Like suddenly a machine gun barrage of gravel hitting the side of cars and they're pulling over and we're all walking away fast. Like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen here, but I don't want to know about it. All right. Yeah, it was crazy ass shit,
Yeah.
But Percy is the easiest to write for. So I would always focus on him. Anastasia, I mean, Kevin was the most complicated to write for because I
can imagine.
I had the most respect for his structure. Like he wasn't going to go where, you would typically assume. So you had to be very careful to make sure that you weren't allowing a formula to form around him. You look at stuff like The Simpsons where they kind of, after season 10 descended and then carried on for 25 years. But after season 10 descended into kind of a welter of self-referentiality, where I'm going to make a joke about something that happened 2 seasons ago, thereby breaking the world that I'm trying to create, breaking the reality of that world in pursuit of the punchline. Just to have a punchline, I'm going to self-referentiate, make a self-reference and break the reality. And I always thought of that as a mistake, so Kevin was always something I was very careful to give a lot more considered thought. Percy and Anastasia, I live next door to those people, so they can walk around in my head and what the hell, and somebody threw shit at my laundry, but like I know those people. But Kevin and Alan were always an opportunity to go above and beyond, formulas and easy punchlines, and to look for something that had a bit of an obtuse angle,
Yeah, like Kevin has always been so mysterious for me because he's very very unpredictable, but he's also like very intellectual.
Yeah, and in a way he was my early approximation of what digital native kids who were born into the digital native world. His parents were, shoplifting, mailbox robbing, bank machine assaulting, whatever. But, Kevin was alive when Pong came out too. So his generation were already kind of smarter about a lot of stuff that, nobody in his parents' generation even conceived of. And certainly that breaking point existed, and and he certainly didn't have enough affection for his parents to bother explaining it to them too much or whatever. And they were happy to let him go on his own business. So yeah, I think Kevin, I didn't want to presume to, even though he had a black hat, but I didn't want to presume to make him me either necessarily. But I wanted him to be kind of an avatar for every kid who's like complicated themselves into unpopularity. You know, I've complicated myself into a social pariah. Nobody wants anything to do with me. I have a magic goose friend. There's an axe monkey hunting me. I don't know what it means, but you know.
Well, yeah, the Axe Monkey. I've always loved the Axe Monkey. I think his introduction is in season 3, in the episode Night School.
Night School.
Yeah.
Yeah. Night School was based on, I don't know if this is a common dream, but it's a dream that I was very affected by, where a childhood school, like elementary school, but you're locked in after dark and there's no one there. That was the dream. And I, all the doors were locked and I couldn't get them open to get out of the building. And it was really an anxiety dream because it's like all these classrooms. Well, I don't know what the metaphor my brain was trying to tell me about, or, your childhood is gone and shuttered and locked dark down or whatever, my subconscious could have been flagging all kinds of stuff. But it was a scary dream. Like, it scared me. Well, but also there are delinquents who just love that sort of shit. They want to break into the school and goof around. Again, before schools were well alarmed or had a lot of security cameras around to make sure that you see everything. And so, yeah, it was a mixture of that dream and actual delinquents I knew who'd done that sort of thing and snuck into the school and maybe stole a bunch of pencils. I don't know. The big heist, the big pencil heist.
Oh, I see now. Yeah. You wrote that episode, Night School.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I see. It's a great one. I really enjoy it.
Some of them, when you say a name like that, it leaps out at me because, yeah, I remember Night School. Jeez.
Yeah.
And that was another one with that McNaughton kid, I think, too.
Yeah, I think so. Timmy. I remember in that episode. I think Timmy steals his parents' car or something. I mean, his dad's Porsche.
Yep, that's it.
Something.
Maybe now he'll pay attention to me.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I remember I've rewatched the show so many times, but I think I rewatched the show like 10 years ago, and I realized that Timmy's parents' names were dropped in that episode. I'm pretty sure that his dad's name is Marvin, and his mom's name was something. I just remember rewatching that episode, and I was like, "Oh my god, their names! This is lore. This is deep Kevin Spencer lore right here."
Well, I mean, the McNaughtons actually, if we're going back to the universe of Britannia, where I grew up, the McNaughtons were a real family, but they were not anything like that. The McNaughtons were like the Winns. They were another one. Like the Wynn family, like Kevin Spencer. And the dad, one night, some nights you can't sleep and you go, I got to go for a walk. I just walk, and maybe if I walk, I'll get sleepy. Who knows? It's 3 a.m, but I'm not having any luck just lying on this pillow. So I'll go for a walk and walk up to the local shopping plaza. It's all deserted, of course. It's parking lot's empty, except for 2 cars at 3 a.m. And one of the cars, behind it is the guy we called Old Man McNaughton. And Old Man McNaughton had clearly made the right choice and said, you know what, I'm too drunk to drive. So what he did instead was lie on the pavement behind his car, using his bumper as like a pillow. And it sort of like, so his head was against the bumper, all curled up like this on the ground behind his car at 3 a.m. And I said, well, that's, oh my God. The Naughtons eventually moved out and their house became a halfway for rehabilitating criminals.
Okay, I see. One thing I wondered about Kevin Spencer, it ran for 8 seasons. That sounds pretty long.
It's unheard of for Canadian television. There are, I think for a couple of years, there was a couple of years where we were the longest running scripted animated show in Canadian history. But I think
Okay.
we've long since been outdone.
Right.
But for a period there, we were it, like 13 episodes a year for the first few years anyway, and 8 years long. And then, sadly, they just said, well, it's starting to seem about time, and Greg wants to move on to other things and whatever else.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Were you surprised that it went on for that long?
I was delighted.
Hmm?
I was hoping it was because it was hitting a nerve. Our numbers were continuously good. We
Okay.
were, but and a lot of things were happening that had nothing to do with the quality of the show or anything. I mean, there was all of these channels that had, when Kevin Spencer started, all these new cable channels were starting to realize that the business model wasn't what they'd hoped. And so they were starting to shrink their production units, right?
Mm.
And just acquire content from America or whatever else and just shoehorn that in. So, and the Comedy Network also was in a bit of a tight fix because they had promised that we also had a specialty channel that was Teletoon, which was all animated cartoons. And the Comedy Network had kind of agreed that they weren't going to show animation so that they wouldn't compete with the Teletoon folks. But Kevin Spencer was an animated series. So, right. So there was all kinds of, besides the fact that we'd been on for 8 years, but there was other stuff going on that kind of led to the folding down and shutting down of the shop. Greg actually went on to produce with. Have you ever heard of the actress Eva Longoria from Desperate Housewives?
Eva Longoria. No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well, he went on and he was producing with her, and he's been moving around in big circles. Let's see. I haven't checked his IMDb. Maybe I should look him up and get some work. He's all.
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember, like, in the year 2011 or something, I was watching Comedy Central, and there was a show on called Crash Canyon, and I
Yep.
remember seeing Greg Lawrence's name, and I was like, "What? That can't be the Greg Lawrence."
That is,
And
yes,
yeah, and it was.
it was. I mean, I can tell you, he had a show he was trying to get going, The Endless Grind, which was about a coffee place, Crash Canyon, executive producing some First Nations Aboriginal stuff in 2020. I can't even produce
Right.
it, but looks interesting.
Hmm.
Indians and Aliens 2. That's neat.
Sounds interesting.
He's been producing and creative producing like a madman ever since Kevin Spencer, for sure.
Okay.
But Kevin Spencer is among his most highly rated. Even though we're only at a 6.8 out of 10, but everything else is like 2.4, 1.1. Oh no, he's going to see this video and think I'm trashing him. No, Greg, no, you do brilliant work, but we should do a Kevin Spencer movie. Get that glamour.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How popular would you say that Kevin Spencer was at the time that it aired?
Back in the day, huge. It was huge for an animated show. You sort of have to qualify it with for an animated show. So it's still like you could still walk down the street with relatively anonymity, and no one's gonna come up to you. Hey, are you the writer of that? But it opened doors. I was able to go to the Comedy Network and walk around like a mucky muck, and people, oh yeah, I wrote Kevin Spencer, and meetings, and it definitely gave me a cred that has benefited me right up till this very day. I mean, the job I have is because of the credibility that comes from having written for the Comedy Network for so very long.
I have to hear that.
There's very few people who don't know the name when you say it, even today. oh, you wrote Kevin Spencer? Man, I watch that shit. Like, man, like I get that a lot still. I watch every Saturday night, man. I was watching that fucked up show. Yeah. It certainly was part of the Canadian diet for a while.
I see.
And yeah. And yeah, it's just it didn't make me a millionaire. Writers don't get made millionaires very often. It's I'm trying to think, it isn't Beatlemania for sure. Nobody was chasing me down the street to a music track or anything.
Okay.
But I certainly it certainly gave you a certain degree of cred, especially when working as a stand-up. When I was working as a stand-up, it added a little pepper to it when you could have someone, and he worked for the Comedy Network for many years, writing for Kevin Spencer. Oh, Kevin Spencer. Oh, you hear the little burbles out in the audience. Oh, good. They know what they're in for, So, so yeah, I don't know. It's neat I force my kids to watch a couple episodes sometimes.
Okay. What do they think?
They laugh, and that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I still don't know if we ever figure out which episode with the black and white film, The Freakish. Let me see if I can find it out. Spencer.
No, not completely sure.
Feature.
But it does ring a bell.
Yeah, well, they really love that. Was the one I picked just randomly, and they ate it up. We got some good solid laughs out of that.
Do you remember any subplot or something?
I'm just hang on. These are the whole tree. No, God damn it. Darn it. No, I don't remember any subplots. And I just watched this with them recently.
Okay.
Jeez. I'm taking one last swing at Google
here.
Yeah,
sure.
No, it just doesn't turn up, and it's strange. Because it was an episode where this teacher was complimenting Kevin on his poetry. Kevin, maybe I should just leave out Freakish and say Kevin poetry.
Yeah, I remember this so well. I can't believe I can't remember which episode it is.
Yeah. I know when I'm hitting the wall on Google when Kevin Spencer. It takes me to some gospel singer in the United States who's named Kevin Spencer.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to Google Kevin Spencer for ages, and I always have to Google Kevin Spencer cartoon.
Yeah, because you always get that gospel singer guy. He's thrilled. I'm sure he's thrilled to be associated with this show.
Oh yeah. So, Rick, have you ever been approached by anyone who came up on the street or something and was like, "Hey, you're the guy who wrote for Kevin Spencer"?
Yes, but usually people like somebody who told them, and then they walked across the room to compliment me or something.
Okay,
and I'd be very happy about it. You wrote Kevin Spencer. Oh wow, that was cool. I've never run into anyone who was like outraged or mad or wanted to murder me. Thank goodness. But the only people who actually want to talk are the people who found it, brought a cheap ass laugh to their face and a good smile, and usually there's been a lot of goodwill associated with it. So I was very happy. I was very happy to anyone who wants to talk about it, because I mean, again, it even while working on it, I knew this was probably the one. Like, this is probably the gig that you will never, saying to myself, I will never have this kind of autonomy again, this kind of creative control over my own writing. They are so tight for deadlines that, if I wanted to exploit it, I could write the most horrible thing and they'd probably produce it, because it's the deadlines were so tight. They were like, I don't know, whatever, just make it, you know. So I knew there was a huge trust factor there that I had to honor, and which I was happy to honor. You know, I really wanted to do the best job I could for them, and as a result, I'm forgetting what the question was, but you know, still,
if anyone's ever approached you.
But I knew that was going to be the sweet time, so I really tried to put the best of my writing heart into it, you know, both for the team that worked so hard creating it and because I cared about the show, you know. So
yeah, it's beautiful to hear.
It's great to be interviewed for being the writer, but there's so many, again, those poor animators. And I told you already in the last meeting interview where, you know, I opted not to be on site when I wrote, and which led to a lot of paranoia that they all hated me.
Okay.
But you know, later somebody explained to me, no, they don't even think about you because you're not here. You know, they're hating each other, and you're sensing that mood because they've been hotboxed together. So they, you know, the animators, you know, those are people, those teams. I only remember like one or two of their names, Lily something, Lily, and but that was their heart and soul too, you know, and they worked hard as well, you know. So even though I only became sort of part of the team during the Christmas parties or whatever else, but it was a team, and like all shows of any sort, any show is an ambassador of the group of people who worked on it, every one of them, you know. So, and Kevin Spencer just as much so. So
I see. Speaking of Christmas parties, when I made the questionnaire like a week and a half ago, I had a section called raunchy questions that I might not ask.
Here we go. Saves the best for last.
And one of the questions was, what's the craziest thing to ever have happened at an Octopus Productions Christmas party?
Oh God.
I understand if you don't want to answer this one.
Well, no. I mean, I wouldn't answer it because I don't know if I'd remember. I mean, I remember vague. It's like trying to remember a dream sequence, you know, like. I remember my agent dancing on a table. I remember huge bathtubs full of ice and beer. Everybody just moving around, going. All the offices were all decked and decorated, and we'd all just go from one office to the other, to the office, to the other, and things like that. And but yeah, then it became a blur. And then I said, "How did I get home?" I'm glad I did, but yeah, no.
Okay.
I mean, it was like any time things are going really well, it happened fast, so fast it's hard to remember. You know, like, oh wow.
Well, I'm very satisfied with that answer.
No, if anything comes to me, I'll send it to you.
Oh yeah,
I just found this photo.
Yeah, please.
Here's a photo of me working in a gas station before 1980, around 84.
84.
So 1984, working in a service station. That guy would go on and write Kevin Spencer.
Yeah.
And doesn't it look like he's high on the fumes?
Perhaps.
All those chemicals, all that rubbing alcohol and antifreeze and everything there. Who knows? It's a miracle I didn't contract testicular cancer. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just found that old Polaroid. It's like,
okay, I see. Wow, 84. That's 13 years before I was born.
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah. I don't get it either, man. Time is weird. It freaks me out.
Another raunchy question I had. Fuck, marry, kill. Marty the bartender, Porn Man, and Charlie Plunt.
Charlie, I'd marry Charlie for the weed. And that was, then there's the bartender, and who else?
Porn Man. And I guess you could also include Afro Man. You know, they're They're
I love the
pretty.
black.
Yeah.
We wrote the blaxploitation episode. I love that one so much.
Yeah, that one's so good. I love
Oh
that
man,
one with
and
the Ku Klux Clowns.
the Ku Klux Klans. Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
that was so good.
there was also my wife is actually did voice work as one of the porn actors in one of the. Oh, that's her laughing because I'm mentioning that. Um, I guess I mean it'd be easier to say fuck porn man, but I don't know. He'd have high standards, so I might
Yeah.
kill him because I couldn't have a standard that I'd have to live up to. But Marty doesn't
I see.
attract me. I don't know. But
Nah,
Marty'd be fun for the beer afterwards. Well, I'll tell you
I
something now.
guess.
Hey, Eric, did you like my Kevin Spencer shows?
I already know you're doing the kill fuck melee thing because I've seen that online times. I just overheard it and I knew that's what you did.
That's not what I asked you.
I know. I just wanted to mention that.
All right, good. Do you like the show?
Yes.
Now go away. Go away. You've just served your purpose.
I told them about it and they liked it.
Oh yeah. My sons are out promoting, so that's nice. Thank you.
Okay, great. I have to ask you, was there any merchandise related to Kevin Spencer?
Oh, would I have killed for a Pez? I would have loved a Kevin Spencer Pez, but they're like, it's one of those things where because you're the writer, you don't know what's involved in things. And by you, I mean me. I don't know what's involved in things. But after 8 years, I was kind of baffled. Yeah, I mean, we managed to get one DVD out. Okay, but why not? Why not more? We managed to get. I never saw any other merchandise.
Okay.
I don't know if it ever was, and I'm baffled by that because it seems like such. Well, I mean, merchandise is a curious thing because, like, unless you've sold the rights to someone, in which case you have no power and somebody else has bought it. But it would have seemed like something that Greg either could have followed up on or sold the rights to someone to do. But I could also see it being a niche market. It's not going to be like Star Wars or something where it's going to have wide appeal. You'd have to sell it to someone who could say, I know the audience that I got to sell this to, and I have good contacts there that I can push this on. And I guess Greg just didn't have anyone that he trusted enough that they could handle it the way he wanted. So,
okay.
I don't know.
I see. Do you know anything about the DVDs that were sold through? I think it was called Express Media Canada.
Is that the ones that we have?
Yeah, like all 8 seasons were released on that website. I own several of them. I think I own all of them.
Oh, DVDs, the whole series.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Kevin Spencer complete 11 disc box set 46. I might get these. What the I don't know.
Yeah.
No, they're all holy smokes. I don't know anything about that. I wish I was getting money from it. And 4 hours. Oh, you get a free bonus. Here's your free bonus. 4 hours of TV commercials from the 90s. How is that a free bonus? You just didn't edit them. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't even know. Wow.
I have to find some of the old DVDs because I bought like most of them back in 2008 or 2009, and I still have them lying around somewhere. The website was called Express Media Canada, I think.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of people making money, and I ain't one of them. I'm very jealous, very, very jealous. But I mean, it's the sort of thing that's so hard to police now these days. Like technically, I'm not the producer, and is Greg just okay with that because it promotes the show, or does he have lawyers looking out? And if so, is this even in our country where they can find the guy? So you got to ask how many complications stand in the way of making a big deal about this or not.
I see.
Frankly, I mean, I'm at an age where I'm glad somebody's out there who likes it and is spreading it around, and there are so many shows. Like I have a lot of writer friends, and there are so many shows that all of us have worked on, and we laugh and we go, wouldn't it be great if we could find a copy of? And you can't, you can't find a copy so much because they didn't get famous, and so they just erased the tapes to use it for a news show or something. And I'm just so blessed that Kevin Spencer still exists. And if I want to look back at it, I find any episode I want, and it's like so great. And like, oh man, look, get back here, leave me alone. No, get back here. I'm going to show you. And so I mean, I don't know any details about it, but I'm glad it exists. That's all I can say.
Okay. I remember. So you're probably familiar with the website archive.org and the Wayback Machine.
Oh yes.
I've been looking back at the old renditions of the Kevin Spencer websites throughout the ages, and I saw some images from the production team or something, and I realized they all were having Kevin Spencer T-shirts on them. I guess that it might have been official merchandise.
I have one shirt. It's upstairs somewhere, but I have one Kevin Spencer shirt somewhere.
Wow.
I think it was a cruise shirt. And when I find it, I still wear it to the college just so everyone goes, look at me.
Oh, wow.
I have credentials. Look at me, everybody. I have credentials. But that, yeah, I had to hear you say that to remind me that, yeah, we did have, I don't know if that even was merchandise or just something Greg did for the crew, but we did have crew Kevin Spencer shirts. So,
I'm jealous. I'm so jealous. I'm gonna try finding some images.
I mean, we're in an age now you can customize a graphic and have anybody print it out.
Yeah,
now.
Of course. While I was
I don't mind that.
Okay. When I was going, I was looking at the oldest version of the Kevin Spencer website, which I think was from like 1999, or maybe slightly after like 2000 or something.
And I mean, keep in mind, that's all pre-Twitter, pre-social media.
Oh yeah,
you
were ahead of the curve.
my MySpace might have been a thing, but I don't know. Yeah.
And I realized you had a few contests.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. Wait, I just want to send you. Can I send you an image?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see here, because these sound very entertaining.
Oh God.
Let's see here.
How drunk can your kid get on cough syrup? What is that a contest? That doesn't sound like a good idea. We shouldn't do that.
Let's see here. I think it's being sent now.
All right. Oh boy.
So for spot man number 2.
Okay.
And man number 2, he's that kind of mysterious character who appears.
I know him. I wrote an episode dedicated to him where he kept promoting himself.
Oh yeah. That was the first
number
episode.
2 show. Yeah. Talking about man number 2.
I remember that. That's season 5, Righting the Wrongs.
Yes, Righting the Wrongs of Society. Okay, what I'm having. Oh, there we go. Spot man number 2. A chameleon, a thespian. His conservative glasses suggest a man of distinction, but he is in fact a joker at heart. This portly, versatile man became the art department's favorite stock character and will appear in many incarnations in each. Yes. Look at the way, again, you know what I talked about, what the animators hotboxing each other. That's the lack of oxygen clearly led to this spot man number 2 kind of.
Sounds like a hilarious inside joke.
Oh yeah, guess how many times he's appeared to win. There's the Design Percy's T-shirt. The T-shirt logos had to change every episode, but they were always interesting. And does your boss look like Charlie Blunt? Oh, got a cousin who's a dead ringer for Kevin. Send us pics. Okay. Looks like somebody tried. It was a good idea, but I bet that I bet that contest, those things would probably do better now that there's actually a community around the show, as opposed to then where we had ratings, we had viewers, but we didn't have the technological ability yet to generate the kind of community that it appears to enjoy now. So
Yeah.
If they want to get things going again, they should definitely think about maybe kicking up some of the content.
Oh yeah.
Can you drink as much as Percy Spencer? Whoa. We can't encourage alcoholism. That's not healthy.
Oh yeah, no, no.
Mm.
Well, I think I'm gonna have to go to bed pretty soon. I have to study tomorrow, and it's
Yeah.
1:48.
Yeah,
No,
okay. It is a school day.
1:41 p.m. a.m.
And I want to try and
here.
get some biking in before the weather turns over here.
Oh,
Ludwig, I've
yes.
enjoyed talking to you so much, and you've made
Likewise.
an old man's heart happy.
I'm happy to hear that, Rick.
I'm not guaranteeing results, but I will try and reach out and see if I can get Greg Lawrence. And if he'd be at all interested in this. If not, don't be shy about Serge. Get Serge, ask him if he's still in contact with Greg. I don't think this is something Greg would be against. I think it's just he needs to know about it and whatever else.
Yeah.
And just as a cheap excuse to keep these lines of communications open, let's see if we can get a Kevin Spencer live show together. That we tour to Sweden.
Yes, please.
If Greg isn't into it, I could probably do a couple of the voices anyway.
Oh, perfect.
And Serge does the music. I can do my Emerson Lake as a little end thing or something. And anything for a free trip. Well, it wouldn't be free. I'd pay my way. But anything for a trip, that has some gigs. I'd probably have to.
You can stay at my apartment.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad actually. It looks good.
Oh yeah, no, it's pretty nice here.
Sweet. Okay.
Well,
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a blast. I actually feel kind of sad that I'm not going to interview you anymore. But if you're ever in Sweden, if you're ever in Uppsala, you know the way here. You've flown over Uppsala in your Microsoft Flight Simulator.
And I would definitely message you first on Facebook and see what we could kick together, man.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Thank you so much, and
thank you very much, Rick.
Interview with Serge, and you might hear from me again if I can kick Greg out of the trees anywhere for you. So we'll see what happens.
Perfect.
All right, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rick.
Get to bed. It's a school night.
Yeah, it is. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.